I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the rules of the Transportation License Commission, I'm going to read the appellate process. This is appeals of decisions from the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission. Pursuant to provisions of Section 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, notice is hereby given that if you are not satisfied with a decision made by the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of certiorari with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Courts. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Metropolitan Transportation Licensing Commission's decision. We advise that you seek your own independent legal advice to ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met. Now, we always open our meetings with an opportunity for public comment, for folks to speak about something that's on the agenda. Those are usually limited to about 2 minutes each. And we'll start with Council Member Emily Bennett. And if you could introduce yourself and tell us what topic on the agenda you're going to speak to.
The media has microphone, Phil. All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Emily Benedict. I am the District Council Member for District 7. I appreciate the service of a couple of my constituents who are on this commission. I am here today because I had a constituent reach out to me in regards to illegal taxis. And so I know that this is on your agenda today. I wanted to just speak out, let the public know, first of all, that there is a process that they can follow to report this. And so if the public is not aware, should this happen to you, which please be on the lookout. There are tips that I hope are talked about today relative to making sure that folks are not getting in these illegal taxis. But if that has happened to you, I want the public to understand that there is a process that you can report that so that the TLC director can follow up with that company or individual to track them down and make sure that they're held accountable for their illegal activity. I would ask this commission to look at that process to see if that can be improved and so that we can make sure that citizens are being protected. This is a very scary situation. Today's Thursday. 2 nights ago at council, we had a very scary situation with some folks that showed up, and I think that it's a time where we need to take extra precautions to ensure the safety of all Nashvillians. So I appreciate your attention to this topic today. I look forward to hearing how it goes, and certainly, I guess we don't really do Q&A at this commission meeting, but I appreciate your service again and hope that we can do all we can to protect Nashvillians. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilperson Benedict. You are correct. On our agenda today is an update on the taxi cab enforcement efforts. It's about 3/4 of the way through the agenda. So anyone in the public that's interested, please stick around for that.
Thank you.
Just for the public and maybe my edification as well, the appropriate vehicle by which to report an illegal taxi is through Hub Nashville. Is that accurate? Or is there another reporting place?
That is actually on our agenda today to change a rule to allow complaints to come through Hub Nashville. So that we'll be talking about that a little bit later on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on my list is Commander Ricky Bearden.
Don't see Commander Bearden in the crowd. I think he was going to try to be here, but must have not been able to come.
Shelley Williams.
Chair, we have another councilman that would like to speak.
Thank you for commissioners for allowing me the opportunity to speak, and I want to lift up the words of my colleague in addressing the illegal taxi issue. I want members of the public to know that we're actively working on it. We had an issue with taxis driving around with their doors open and sitting right in front of Broadway businesses. We have addressed that, and so it's kind of a game of whack-a-mole. We address one thing, something else pops up. So this is kind of the active active issue, but as my colleague said, from a safety standpoint for visitors and locals alike, it's a real concern of mine that folks are getting into taxis that are either completely unlicensed or taxis that are licensed that are choosing to not use the meter and are charging $60, $70, $80, $90 to folks to get home. So glad that this is on the agenda. I encourage y'all to take swift action to address this matter. I think some of it is addressing it internally, but also making sure, which I know you're going to hear more about today, members of the public understand what to look for a licensed taxi, how to know what is allowed and what isn't, and how to address and report incidences. You know, we try to be as many places as we can, but at the end of the day, the public is our eyes and ears out there. So making sure that everybody knows what to look for and how to report it. I'll also share that Benton McDonough, the director of nightlife, and myself regularly go on walks throughout downtown Nashville in the evening to see different things going on. And so we've added this to our rotation to kind of see what's going on with taxis. So if we see something, we will also be reporting that in. But again, just, you know, this is a safety concern. And so we'll make sure this is top of y'all's radar, and I appreciate y'all making the time to listen to it and talk about it today.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Williams.
Hi, good afternoon.
And again, please introduce yourself and tell us what topic you're going to be speaking about.
I'm Shelley Williams with Nash Vegas Cab, talking about the taxi fare rates being increased. And I'm sorry, I do apologize. As we all know, inflation has hit everywhere in America. And we've not seen an increase in our rates since 2022 in the taxi fares. Everywhere we go, the prices have increased, and we kindly ask that you do not raise the prices at this time. As we all know, Uber and Lyft have come to the city and dominated the taxi business, as well as the illegal cabs, which makes it very hard for the legal cabs to do business. Also, we do not have enough taxi stands in the downtown area. Our drivers are waiting up to 3 hours just to get an airport for one fare. We know that if the rates are raised, that we have to pass this down to our drivers in the weekly licks. It is a fact that they will start turning in their equipment and find other employment, as business has been slow and many of them are already working 2 jobs just to provide for their families as it is. We are truly asking you to reconsider this decision, as many people will be impacted by this decision. The companies, drivers, dispatchers, and the community, as many of us could go out of business if we lose our drivers. The financial burden of raising the quarterly and annual fees at this time are placing a hardship accordingly. The companies, overhead for the offices, rent, websites, phones, electricity, water, dispatch systems, dispatchers, insurance, city fees, county fees, airport fees, TLC fees, licenses, drivers, commercial insurance, commercial tags, permits, inspections, both meter and mechanical, weekly late payments, airport fees, maintenance on their vehicles, tires, oil changes, and most important, the always rising gas prices. We need to work together regarding these illegal cabs working downtown at the hotels or business, or business is going to continue to be impacted on the taxi drivers.
Ms. Williams, I'm going to need you to wrap it up, but I want to make sure that you are addressing the item on the agenda today about whether to approve reverting the taxi cab fees to the pre-pandemic levels, correct?
And now, due to inflation.
Okay.
Yes. And also, we realize the drivers they're not perfect. They do work, they do have their doors open. We realize this, and we are working internally to get this stopped.
Thank you.
So it's not something that the offices are not handling internally.
I agree with you that we need to work together. And thank you
If we
today.
work together, we can get things done. If we don't work together, nothing gets done. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Next on my list is, if I pronounce it correctly, Fauzi Zaki.
My name is Fauzi Zaki. I'm for the new company. I have nothing to talk today, but I just come for the color or something like this. Whatever issues they talk about it already. We already discussed before, but we just come for the color and what they're going to do, what's the plan going to do. But only I wish in the future we have meter working. It's not a business like it is. I used to be driver from New York, taxi driver from New York. Nobody can move without a meter. It's illegal. But here in Nashville, nobody use a meter, no matter what. They say, yes, some of them. No, majority of them, they don't use a meter. What we need is we need regulation, and we need more enforcement for them to can follow the rule.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Trimble, you're on the list next.
Hey, Doug Trimble with Yellow Cab. Commenting on the reversal of fees pre-pandemic, we're just requesting, and I think everybody's in agreement, even Mr. Rooker's office, me and him's discussed it. We're just requesting more time. We know they're going to revert back eventually, but since the pandemic, we're nowhere near capacity. We're still at 50% of our original fleet size since all that started a couple years ago. We're just requesting more time from the board to leave these fees as they are now. Give us more time to get fully situated to be the asset that the cab companies are. We want to serve other than the airport and Music Valley and the district. We want to serve all of Davidson County. We need some more time to leave these fees in place to help us, help each other, help everyone. If the fees are increased right now, it's going to be a hardship on all of us. We just need more time and requesting more time to leave these fees in place as they are and give us more time to get our fleets back up to par, back up to capacity where they were. And hopefully you guys will leave things as they are.
So how much time are you suggesting?
I'm hoping for a year. Everybody else wants a lot longer than that, but I think a year at least, just to get our fleets back up to par. Our fleet's still at 50%. I don't know about everybody else. We're just requesting the fees be left alone right now and give us more time to get everything we need in place to be an asset to all of Davidson County. Those are strongholds, but we want to serve all of Davidson County. And I hope Richard's in agreement. I think his office is. We've discussed it. We had a meeting the other day pertaining to the overcharging and the illegal taxis. I think we're all on the same page there. We had a great meeting with his office the other day and NDOT. And so I'm not even going to address that. I think we're all got some ideas concerning those issues and how to address them. These fees of the increase, we just want them left alone right. Fees of the increase, we just want them left alone right now.
Thank you,
Please.
Mr. Trimble.
Thanks.
Next person who signed in was, I think it's Mr. Hassan with Checker Cab.
Sir, good afternoon, Commissioner. My name is Hassan. I'm on behalf of Checker Cab in Music City. Either we talk whole day, we know what we're here for. So about the fees, about not legal cabs, and I'm not gonna just defend my cab company, which is I'm gonna talk about every cab company in Nashville. This council lady, she was mentioned a Checker Cab, unlegal cab. So now we got another issues coming up downtown. So we struggling, our drivers struggling, and if you really run the company the right way, you have to spend quite a bit of money to run the right way. We got 24-hour dispatcher. We got 12 dispatcher right now at the office. Like she said, we got a website and all those things is going on. And I believe it's best way for what I see. I'm not gonna talk behalf of any body to what they say, but to me, I believe it will be fair till airports completely be international to be open up, and I believe it will be end in 2028. So that's what I'm asking for. If we leave it like it is till airports will fully open up international, and also maybe we can work together, like she say, we can solve this problem in downtown, not legal cab and overcharging. It's just not the cab drivers overcharging. We've got a private cars is coming in from different state, different plate number. And I believe Mr. Roker and the chief police officer, we had a meeting with them last week, and they have to work with us to stop those out of state, plate numbers. They've been working downtown, left and right, overcharging. And our issue, which is that council chief mentioned green checker cab. We got a lot of people, they use squares. When they use squares, when they open up first squares, they have to put a business name on it, which is Music City or Checker Cab or Yellow Cab. When they quit, they are not from us. When you get the receipt from the drivers and assess a Checker Cab or Yellow Cab, but physically they are not working with us. We have to look out for this kind of things in downtown right now. I mean, increasing fare.
Mr. Hassan, you need to wrap it up, okay?
Yes, increasing fare right now, I don't think is good time to do. And we got some more important things to work with, to watch or look out for. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Michael Rowan?
Yeah, Michael Rowan. I just got a couple of documents and I'm going to be discussing the illegal cabs and regarding, which plays into the regarding the fee hikes.
Thank you, TD. What am I looking at?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to be quick. I just wanted to point out that the taxi cab industry is a government-regulated industry. It's regulated after World War II. After 1945, the federal government recognized that you had to take care of the business traveler and the tourist because there were a lot of cities across the United States that needed the business traveler and needed the tourist to be able to function and survive. Now, that was back in 1945. And then what they did is they delegated, they wrote some rules and some regulations, and some of the states picked up their rules and regulations, and then some of the cities took those and adopted them. So the taxi cab industry and the taxi cab business is a government-regulated business. You absolutely have to have it. And then the Transportation Board, I mean, this is, that's a serious responsibility. Granted, there might be Uber and Lyft that are regulated by the states, but there's nowhere near the type of regulations that the taxi cab industry has. And believe it or not, the term taxi cab, it has been defined. And so if you look at the second page on those illegal cabs that I passed out, you'll see one of them that says taxi in the back of the window. Well, there's no way that a taxi that just puts it in the back of the window is being operated by or being approved by the board. So that's an illegal taxi. And number one, he can't do it as regards to the federal government. And number two, he can't do it because the Metro Council says he can't do it. So that's important. Another thing that I would like to point out that goes into the fees is that when you approve a taxi cab company, the rules and regulations are pretty stringent. Like, you have to have a 24-hour dispatch. There are a lot of things that these cab companies have to have. And some of the newer cab companies, could be rumor control, but they want to charge a lease fee of $25. So if you have 30 permits and you have a lease fee of $25 and you add that up, $25 per week, basically it comes out to about $2,000 a month. And who in the world can run a business on $2,000 a month? It's absolutely impossible. You can't do it. You can't pay for a 24-hour dispatch to sit there. Not one person's going to sit there for 24 hours. So in essence, when you approve those companies and somebody says, hey, I'm being charged $25 for a lease fee, why do I want to stay at a company that charges, let's say, $200 a lease fee? Because that's the kind of money that you need to charge to be able to functionally run a cab company. So when you approve a cab company, and they're going to, in my opinion, there needs to be a limit
or a suggestion of what these new cab companies can charge as far as a lease fee, because y'all are the board, and you are, believe it or not, it's a serious duty, and you're protecting the business traveler that's coming into this city, even though the laws were basically laid in place in 1945 after World War II, and you're protecting the tourist that comes in here. The rules are different. The cab drivers, you can't be a convicted felon. You guys know that. They're a lot more stringent than Uber and Lyft. Yes, Uber and Lyft does have some government regulation. Okay, Uber and Lyft does have some regulation, but they, but they're nowhere near what the taxi cab regulations are. And as far as the fees goes, one of these fees that y'all raise is 800%.
Who are you with?
I'm with Checkered Cab, but I have done work with Magic Cab. I have done work with Volunteer Taxi. I helped them get their license. With TL. What's that other one? Tennessee? I've worked with like 4 or 5 cab companies. I live in, I spend half my time in Tampa, Florida, and the other half my time here in Davidson County.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, that's the end of our list. Did I assume Commander Bearden did not show up?
Chair, I do not see him. I believe we have one more person like to say, come on up, Miss Lisa. Chair, I will text Commander and see if he's on the way or if he plans on coming today.
Do you know what he wanted to speak about?
No, sir, I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
Okay. I'm not sure I should encourage you to try to get more people here. But
I don't have to.
No,
you're in charge.
Go ahead. Ms. LeClaire?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for having me. I apologize. I'm running a little bit late. We had a tour at Junior Achievement BizTown this morning, and if any of you have never been, please make the time to go out there and visit them. They're doing amazing work. I am with the Greater Nashville Hospitality Association, and I've sent each of you a letter today, including Mr. Ripker and Diana Alarcon with NDOT. And I just wanted to reiterate, I know today on the discussion is adding potentially some permits to our ETVs. And I just want to reiterate that I think we've had enough studies done and enough discussion that we already have more than we need, and I hope you'll keep that in mind. Secondly, in addition to traffic, I think we need to keep in mind the behavior, consumption of alcohol, noise, and other issues that come along with some of the activity that goes along with party buses. And so swapping permits for those who already have a sightseeing into an ETV permit is probably not the best idea either. We want to make sure that we keep Nashville safe for you and me, the local residents of Nashville, and our visitors. And so I just want to remind you of that, and please ask you to take that into consideration. Thank you.
You mentioned that you sent a letter out today. I received a letter earlier in the week. Is there a second letter that came out today?
No, I apologize. It was sent earlier this week. That's correct. That is correct. Yep. Thank you. Just want to make sure you got it.
All right. Thank you. All right. I'm going to close the public comment period. And I was only joking about not texting Commander Bearden. Feel free to, please.
I'll reach out to him, but he would have been here. If something must have come up that he couldn't get here.
Have all the commissioners had an opportunity to read the minutes from the previous meeting?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the previous meetings or any amendments to the meetings?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Now we come to a pleasurable part of the, and I can see somebody smiling in the background there. Sal Hernandez, would you please come forward? Mr. Rooker, I think you have something to give Mr. Hernandez, don't you? As well as to introduce him to the public, and thank you.
It's a new car, right?
It's a party bus.
No, wait a second. Mr. Rogers, you know it's an electric bike.
This is Sal Hernandez. He's been our chair for a long time. Been on the commission for 13 years. And I want the public to really understand These folks have other jobs. They have things that they do. They have a professional life, and they really sacrifice a lot of their time because they have a passion for Nashville. They have a passion for what they do in trying to regulate the companies and make things safe for the public. So this is a small token, something from NDOT to give him, to recognize his unselfish 13 years of work that he has done for the Transportation License Commission, and we appreciate it. Be sure you open that, because there's something else. All right. Thank you.
Now he's serious about opening that now.
No,
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Lots of lifesavers. I like it.
Members of the public don't realize that lifesavers are a tradition amongst the Transportation Licensing Commission.
That's right. I can't even get the straw back in.
We pass them out every day, so he's got it's full of lifesavers.
Well, thank you, Mr. Rooker, and everyone on the commission. I really appreciate being invited to come back for the recognition. And I did want to take a minute to recognize the commission itself. I mean, it truly was a pleasure and an honor to serve for as long as I did. And you know, I know the members of the public know this, but I mean, this truly is a volunteer commission. I mean, everyone here is a, full-time employed somewhere else doing something, going around 90 miles an hour with their lives, but they are devoted and spend a lot of time and careful thoughtfulness on all the issues. And it's not easy. There is no deliberation outside of this room, as everyone knows, and that just increases the level of commitment needed for this job. And also I wanted to give a special shout out to Teresa Costonas and Erica Haber. They are a key foundation to the success, I think, of this commission and its efficiency of operations. They're always available to answer questions, give legal advice, and they've made this job tremendously easier than if they weren't available. And TD, again, you're as well. Thank you so much. And Lisa has always been available to assist. And really is someone behind the scenes that doesn't get enough recognition either. And obviously, I worked with Mr. Fields for a number of years when he was the director, and I know we're all going to miss him. He was recognized a few months ago, but Ricky has been a tremendous replacement and is doing a great job. So, but again, thank you for inviting me back. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to miss it. In some ways, but I'm glad that my time is ended as well. Thank you so much.
Sal, before you leave, being as unaccustomed to public speaking as I am, I still have to say a couple words. You leave huge footprints to have to follow in for all of us here on this commission. Folks, you may not realize, but 13 years ago, when I came on and Sal and I were together here on this, all we dealt with was horse-drawn carriages, wrecker services, and I'm glad you taxi folks are here, taxi cab regulations. Sal has guided us through starting with Uber and Lyft, when we met in a courtroom and it was just packed with people who were interested in it. He has guided us through the scooters, through the e-bikes, through carriages, through everything. And whether you agree with some of the decisions by this commission or not, one thing I can say is that Sal has shown tremendous judicial temperament and been an example for all of us about how to be an exemplary commission or commissioner. So thank you for your service.
Thank you. Good luck and carry forward with it looks like a very substantive agenda.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We also wanted to recognize Freddie Carr, who has not been able to be with us today. He had put in 8 years of service here before leaving the commission. And Freddie has often brought unique, sometimes very interesting perspectives to different issues that have come up on the agendas for the commission. And we're going to miss his presence. And I want to also just publicly recognize the commission's appreciation for his service over the last 8 years. Now we get into more substantive matters on today's agenda. Mr. Rooker, there appears to be the next thing up here is the disciplinary hearings.
Yes, sir. These are, I would like to note, these are industry complaints that were received by our office a while back. These are not any complaints or anything coming from NDOT or the Transportation and Licensing Commission. There have been no citations or anything of that nature that have been issued to this company. July 1, with the new laws that came into effect, we kind of started all over. And so we started over with our discipline. We started over with how we tracking it. We started over with a lot of things. So this was the 3-strike rule, which we now have in effect, that will bring people before the commission after 3 verified complaints that we can prove that actually happened. This was prior to that. So all that started on July 1. So these are industry complaints. They're not complaints from the TTLC or from NDOT. I just wanted to clarify that before we get started.
I did make at least a complaint through Hub in regard to Old Town Trolley operating between 4 to 6 p.m. I do want that noted. It's noted in the Hub Excel spreadsheet. It happened often. And so I don't know if that's an official complaint as a TLC member, but I do want that noted.
I was just going to say, Mr. Hayes, if you're a witness, I'm not sure you can fill that role and the role of commissioner with regard.
I would have to recuse myself of
Yes.
being a commissioner, but I could certainly be a witness and present evidence.
Do we know if the complaint and the dates of the complaint that you made coincide with these as well?
It was in the same time period.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and if that's all reset, it's reset. I don't know if that's the case.
Oh, what do you mean?
He was saying that everything from a disciplinary standpoint ended June 30th. Is that accurate?
Well, we started the new how we were going to handle and how this was all going to be affected. We started a new kind of a 3-strike program where you're first of all going to get a phone call from me if we can verify the complaint and make sure that the complaint is real. You're going to get a phone call from me. The next step would be a verified complaint that we would send a certified letter to the company and tell them that they in violation of whatever rule it is. And then if we have to do a third one and something comes up that we can verify, they will appear before this commission for you to, that will be a disciplinary hearing that is generated by the Transportation Licensing Commission. That started on July 1 of this year.
So what do we do before as far as disciplinarian? Were we doing 3 strikes as well?
Sir. No, sir. We would just, if citations were written and guilty pleas, and they were found guilty or anything of that nature, then we'd bring them before the commission after, I'm not sure what the number of citations was, but that's kind of before my time. But I think it was like maybe 5, if they had 5 convictions, that would bring them before you. We're going to hold them a little more accountable now, that we're not necessarily going to wait until a citation is issued. If we can verify a complaint and make sure that complaint is real, then we're going to bring them before you and let them explain to you as the commission why they've had 3 violations that have been verified by our office.
Ms. Costones, could you, I think it would be helpful if you could lay out procedurally what this commission should be doing when a disciplinary matter comes before us, for the new commissioners as well as probably refresh the rest of us.
Certainly. So there's actually 2 different paths of discipline that can be pursued with a violation of one of the chapters that this commission enforces, of which there are many. In all cases, if a violation of the Metro Code is observed, say for instance by a police officer or a TLC inspector, they can issue a citation that will then go before the environmental court, and not necessarily to this body, although we can also bring those to your attention after the fact if you would like. The other procedure is the disciplinary hearing procedure, and of course that only works with persons and entities over whom you all have permitting and licensing authority, because the disciplinary actions that you can take are either to suspend such permit or license, revoke it altogether in very serious cases, and put them on probation with some sort of condition, or if they don't fulfill it, they end up going into a suspension. So those are the actual disciplinary actions that this commission can take. Sometimes there are complaints that are brought before you for disciplinary action that are observed by staff of the TLC itself. Like as Mr. Rooker was pointing out, this is not one of those cases. I also agree. Up until July 1, I'm not sure in terms of the number of violations. I'm not sure there was a consistent rule that I'm aware of. There's certainly nothing in the written rules of this commission about that. So it may be that some complaints were brought on the first complaint. Some cases were brought for discipline on the first complaint, if it was determined to be, credible and serious, or even if it was not. Mr. Fields, I think, would let people prosecute their own complaints, essentially. And this is a situation where there's no staff member other than Mr. Hayes, if he kind of counts, who is a witness or observer of this set of violations that are being heard before you today, but independent, non-governmental witnesses have requested the opportunity to present this complaint against Old Town Trolley.
And I will confirm that in the past, we would hear complaints sometimes on the first time they came up. There were times when members of the staff of the TLC found violations of, I think it was the golf carts, and they were brought to
carriages.
Yeah, and the horse-drawn carriages, and they were brought to us right away. Mm-hmm. So it also depended a lot on the severity of the violation. But initially, though, we have to make a finding of whether there's been a violation.
That's correct.
Before we get into what you described.
So it is a two-step process, exactly as you described. So the first question is, which, if any, section of the Metropolitan Code or regulations was violated? Because, hang on, my computer just timed out, but I believe 677-090 says, thank you, Erica, that if you can be disciplined if you have violated any provisions of this chapter or failed to comply with any rule or regulation established by the MTLC. So you have to either find a violation of the Metro Code or of one of the rules and regulations that have been adopted by this commission. And if you, upon hearing all the evidence from the complainants and the responding parties and their attorneys, you have enough evidence before you to make a decision. You can either decide if there was a violation and what code or regulation was violated. And then the second part of the process would be, as the chair was saying, that you would then determine which, if any, disciplinary sanction would be appropriate to impose for such violation, whether that would be revocation, suspension, or probation.
And we actually have witnesses that appear in the first proceeding, and they go under oath, and the commissioners are permitted to ask them questions. Yes. So generally, we will let the general process that's been followed is the complainants will speak first. As Mr. McNally was saying, anyone who will offer testimony needs to be sworn in, so that you'll be under penalty of perjury.
And then in general, we have allowed the attorneys for the responding party or the responding party to ask a few questions of their own of the complainant's witnesses. Wait, I'm on. And then as well as vice versa, once the responding party, in this case Old Town Trolley, presents, kind of its defense of the case, then they can present witnesses as well, and the plaintiffs can ask those witnesses a few questions. And then at the end of both of those back and forth proceedings, the commission can ask whatever questions they want.
And then when all the proof is taken on the question of whether there's been a violation or not, we can deliberate, and we deliberate openly. This is not like a jury. We don't go into a room. We deliberate openly. So, Ms. Casones, when you get an opportunity, can you look up the regulation regarding the hours of operation that's germane to the two complaints against Old Time Trolley? TD's already got it.
TD's already ahead of me.
It's going to be 805F.
805F?
Yeah, 805F, yes, sir.
So that is up on the screen. So, well, it will be up in the screen in just a sec. There it is. To enhance safety and encourage traffic flow, entertainment transportation vehicles must travel in a manner consistent with the flow of traffic and may not operate on or between the northernmost boundary of Union Street and the southernmost boundary of Korean Veterans Boulevard, and on or between First Avenue and the westernmost boundary of 8th Avenue during the rush hour period between 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. During this time period, ETVs may only operate on routes and zones outside of that area that are approved by the director of the TLC and NDOT's chief engineer. So that last sentence was one that this commission added relatively recently. Operate is defined in the Metro Code, and operate means to have any passengers in the vehicle. So if you are transporting passengers, no matter whether you're going back home or going anywhere, that is operating. If you have no passengers in the vehicle and you're taking it to the garage or to the mechanic, or that is not considered operating. So that means that you may drive these vehicles through downtown during those hours of 4 to 6 if they do not meet that operating definition.
And I noticed that the complaints that are before us by Grant Rosenblatt and Nicholas Lyon are dated April 1st and April 3rd of 2024. That last section you said that we amended on section F, that was after these complaints, correct?
I believe that's correct.
That is correct, yes, sir.
Thank you. All right. I think the first order of business would be to decide whether Mr. Hayes is going to recuse himself from deliberating on this matter or not.
Mr. Rosenblatt and Mr. Lyon here today to testify?
I believe Mr. Rosenblatt is here, yes, sir.
Yay. And do you plan to testify, Mr. Rosenblatt? Yes. Awesome. I don't need to present any evidence if he's here.
Is Mr. Lyons here? Apparently he is not here, sir, so
Okay.
Mr. Rosenblatt is the only person.
Is there anybody that's here on behalf of Mr. Lyons' complaint that wants to testify today? All right, well, we'll start with the first one then. All right, although anyone who's going to be testifying in regards to the Grant Rosenblatt complaint dated April 1st, 2024, please come forward. What's your name?
My name is Richard Pardue. Everybody calls me Scooter. I'm the operations manager with Old Town Trolley of Nashville.
All right, but you'll be defending the complaint, right?
I'll be defending, correct.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I didn't know if you were going to swear everybody in at one time, so he's going to be a witness for the defense. I wanted to identify him.
Okay. Is there anybody here on behalf of Grant Rosenblatt? Please come forward then. And are you Mr. Dickerson?
I am.
Okay. I saw your letter back here. I just want. Is there anybody else you'll be presenting in defense of it?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. All right. Anybody who's going to testify in regards to the Grant Rosenblatt complaint against Old Town Trolley, either for Old Town Trolley or for Mr. Rosenblatt's complaint, please raise your right hand. All right. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. We'll let the complainant go first, okay? Please introduce yourself and then tell us what evidence you want to give in support of Grant Rosenblatt's complaint that Old Town Trolley was operating during the hours of 4 to 8 in the zone that was identified up there.
It's 4 to 6.
I'm sorry, 4 to 6, yeah.
Good. My name is Grant Rosenblatt. So I want to introduce myself to the TLC new board members. Again, my name is Grant Rosenblatt. I own a small transportation and shuttle company named Honky Tonk Party Express. We've been in operation in downtown Nashville since 2016. And I'm filing a complaint today, yes, on the operations of 4 to 6. It's more of, I guess, a line of questioning to the board, and I'll just read my complaint, and then we can ask questions if so needed. I apologize. I'm reading from my phone, so I'm going to have to squint here. So, but yes, 2 years ago, the TLC board implemented a regulation requiring that all ETV companies cease operations between the hours of 4 to 6, Monday through Friday. This regulation was to alleviate traffic congestion in the downtown vicinity. But despite our compliance, as well as the industry, it has come to light that one company was granted a special deal, allowing them to operate during these restricted hours for over 2.5 years, while the rest of the industry was put on the sideline and did suffer financial losses from that. According to the TLC rules, and correct me if I'm wrong, any new regulation must be presented to the board, discussed at an open public forum, and formally voted upon by the members of the TLC board. However, no such process was followed for this special arrangement, and the only reason that we knew that there was a special arrangement is because I inquired on the reasoning on why one company was granted a special privilege. Again, this is not my word. This is what the board was told me, that there was a special privilege granted. So my complaint is very simple and straightforward. I would just like to know the who, what, where, when, and how. The who is who made the decision to allow one company to operate while the others were restricted. These are the ETV companies. What was the motivation behind not providing equal opportunities to the other companies? Where is the special contract or document agreement granting this one company special permission? And when was the special privilege granted, and under what circumstances? And my last question is a big one. How does the board plan to address and rectify the situation? You know, my suggestion is I'm urging the board to conduct an internal investigation to just have these very simple, basic questions answered, which I have no answers to since April, and to allow an immediate action to level the playing field for all ETV companies, my company included. This would to allow us to operate in the downtown core 4 to 6 with no routes or restrictions, just like this other company was allowed for 2.5 years. Complaints were filed, video evidence and evidence was submitted, yet nothing was done. And I just have no answers to the very simple questions, and that's what I'm looking for today. That is my complaint.
Mr. Dickerson, do you have any questions of Mr. Rosenblatt?
Just a few.
You can stay up at the table, please.
When you filed your complaint, did you submit any dates and times as part of your complaint of the violations?
No, my complaints had no dates or times been submitted. My question was back, I believe, this year, just asking why one company was allowed to operate when other complaints were submitted on behalf of our industry.
And just the next question, do you know whether when you observed Old Town Trolley operating within the downtown core between 4 and 6, do you know whether they were operating as an ETV or a charter bus?
Oh, I've got video evidence that I can submit to you when I was writing ETVs with dates and times and videos as the tour operation was going. It's also my understanding, too, that Old Town Trolley has recently considered themselves a shuttle. Is that correct?
I don't know. I'm not being asked the question by you.
Okay.
But I will say that, you admit that you haven't sent any of those dates and times in with your complaint that you submitted to
No,
NL.
my complaint was asking why this one company was still on the road 4 to 6, to which I was told they the TLC told me that they were given a special privilege. Is that true?
No more questions. Thank you.
Any of the commissioners have questions?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenblatt, for being here today. With respect to, you were told they, do you have specific, who told you that there was a special?
The head of NDOT, Diana. And we do have it, I mean, it's on video. That's what she said. These are not my words. I didn't know there was a special deal. I was not told there was a special deal. I was not given an opportunity. So
Was this at a prior TLC meeting or in what forum?
I believe this was at the very, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first meeting that we had in this facility, this room?
First or second. Yeah, there was a TLC meeting where there was some discussion. It also occurred as our, I guess, prior staff member was retiring, and as Mr. Roker was coming into the new role, there was discussion here between Director Alarcon, Mr. Roker, and my recollection of how it was discussed was that there was some discussion between Mr. Field and Old Town Trolley that, in his opinion, Old Town Trolley misunderstood the discussion and began to operate, but that there wasn't a document, there wasn't an email, there wasn't anything that was in writing, and there was nothing before this board which granted, where we, the TLC, granted Old Town Trolley any sort of rights to operate it in the 4 to 6 time frame. It is difficult, I'll say as well, to know, be it your vehicles or any vehicles. I mean, I've seen other ETVs operating in the 4 to 6 window. I've put something in on Hub just to document it, and when they check, it's, hey, this is a shuttle. It's hard to know. You know, when I saw these, I guess I'm not speaking to Mr. Rosenblatt's complaint. He has a separate complaint. When I saw it, I saw like multiple buses operating in the time frame on tours, you know, at rush hour. That didn't appear to be, but I don't know. I don't know if y'all checked to see if it was what it was when I sent the note in.
And to to add a further comment, my complaint wasn't, hey, they're operating tours or hey, they're operating a shuttle. I just said, why are they operating 4 to 6? To which I was told they were given a special privilege. That's where all this came from. I don't think anyone in the room, except for maybe Old Town Trolley, knew that there was a special privilege granted. Again, this was from the director of NDOT saying that to us. I was just questioning as to why. It could have been a shuttle. It could have been, but what was told to us was there was a special privilege and that there was no contract anywhere or public discussion or anything that was voted on, because I'll be honest, I would have liked that special privilege. I think everyone in this room would have liked that special privilege. So when we are told it's a special privilege, I think that warrants some sort of, look under the hood or something like that, because something was said. Something was given when the others, 99%, were not given that. And so, my complaint is I just want 4 to 6 back. I just give me back 4 to 6, just like they had. And
have you filed an application for any of the routes from 4 to 6?
Yeah, I did. I had to take pictures and send it back in and then have to write it back out. My route was pretty lengthy. But, it was just, that's what we're just looking for out of all this. I mean, to be quite honest, we just want the same privilege that they were given that we want. And to Old Town Trolleys, their words, they told the board if they couldn't operate 4 to 6, they would be out of business. We all did it. We all did the 4 to 6. We're still here, at least most of us. So it's like, I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I'm liking that we're back 4 to 6, but the routes and all this stuff, it's unnecessary to me. It makes things more complicated. You're putting more buses into certain lanes of traffic or neighborhoods that we don't want to be in. We just want 4 to 6 back. The unrestricted on that. And that's, and the complaint is, where's the special contract? Because I want that too. And I lost a lot of money. They lost a lot of money. It's not fair to be like, well, doesn't matter. It does matter. It matters a lot to these folks. These are all small businesses that are born and raised right here in Nashville. So it does.
Chair.
Yes. Legal.
I was just going to say, Mr. Rosenblatt, you may not be understanding that this is an evidentiary hearing. If you have evidence of Old Town Trolley operating between 4 and 6 prior to the rule being made more flexible, we need you to present that. We need you to authenticate whatever videos you have and, whatever other photos or documentary evidence you have and present that to the commission. Just raising a question is not a complaint. If you're alleging that there was a violation of the TLC rules, you need to prove it.
I can give you...
Mr. Rosenblatt,
Yes, sir.
I think what I'm hearing is that you wanted to make inquiries of this commission to look under the hood, and you used a consumer complaint as the vehicle to get before us. Your complaint does state very specifically about ETV Rule 6.77 and seems to suggest that says that Old Town Trolley is the vehicle operator involved in your complaint. So, as Ms. Costona said, we need to know what proof you have that Old Town Trolley was operating during that period of time that relates to your complaint today.
I can send that to you. More than happy.
This is the time.
You want me to get from my phone?
Please. That's going to be your call.
I mean, they can talk, I guess, while I'm going to go in and pull it.
And if I may, we've done this before, but I don't see any reason why you couldn't. But I think it should be the official record in terms of what's been discussed, in terms of what Ms. Alarcon testified. I would say if we could find the official minutes of that meeting and the way it was phrased, you all may be able to take sort of judicial notice of the fact that that was in fact stated by Director Alarcon at the prior meeting. But I don't want that to be established just on people's memories, because I think we should use the official record.
That would be lovely, because my memory's not quite the same as Mr. Rosenblatt's.
I have a question.
But my memory's not perfect. I'll certainly say that too.
Can I make one observation, then we'll get to your question? I agree. I remember it being that there was a comment made, and then later there was discussions, and it seemed to be more cloudy rather than clear as to whether any communication was made to Old Town Trolley, and if it was certainly misunderstood. So I guess we really do need to go back to the minutes.
Mr. Chair, could I make a comment regarding...
Hold on. The commissioner has a question first, and then we'll get to... I don't want to get this out of order too much either, so bear with me one moment, Mr. Rosenblatt.
Well, just while we've asked him to produce evidence, is there even a dispute, first of all, where he needs to prove it? Is there a dispute in his allegation or inquiry? Or is it generally understood that that's what happened on both sides?
Mr. Dixon submitted a letter that seems to put the matter in dispute.
Okay.
So, let's see. Then, did you have something we need to take up now, or can it wait till you present your proof?
I think it would be best, it's a motion practice, essentially. It needs to be taken up before we have proof that we haven't seen. We have no idea what it is that's being proved here today. And Old Town Trolley has two different operations. Same looking bus. It can operate either as an ETV, where it can operate between 4 and 6.
Hold on one second. Your motion to whatever, because you haven't seen the video, is denied. Not that I'm a judge or anything, but we don't have the formal kind of discovery that one normally has in the court of law here necessarily. You'll have an opportunity to see it here in just a moment, and should you need more time, we can take that up, okay?
Thank you.
But I am going to let Mr. Rosenblatt present his evidence. Yeah.
So
I don't have a robe.
I was filing a complaint today. I think if any human, logical person would look at this, we'll know what actually happened. But we can go through the formalities as they want. And
we just need to see some proof of your complaint.
I can bring it over to you.
All right. Mr. Dixon, why don't you come on up? And if you have a party that needs to see it, also come on up here.
Can you put it?
What?
Can you?
So,
I got some technology.
okay.
If you don't,
Hold on, we may be able to get it on the screen.
If that's
TD, we need your
technologically
help.
possible, that could certainly be done.
Let me see, let me ask TD if it's possible.
Just need this and an HDMI cord.
All right, go on over there.
Is that an iPhone?
Yes.
Okay.
Why don't you go over there and make sure it's all getting hooked up right? Let's be on the safe side.
I was not present.
Thank you.
Are we retrieving the minutes? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, yeah. All right. I'm going to join the commission meeting for just a few moments while we get this set up. If anyone wants to use the restroom or something, no business will be taken up. With on the phone here in front of the commission. Unless we got a solution. Okay. Ms. Rosenblatt, why don't you just show it to us here in front of us, okay?
It's pretty simple. It's from a tour that I did Tuesday, June 27th. So it's just me riding on the bus. There's about 7 of these videos on one tour.
See? Can you lean back a little bit? Okay. Point over.
You're on the bus.
I'm on the bus. You can hear the tour.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
See the gas that I paid. A little commentary for you.
And what time is this? 4
We're right
p.m.?
at 4 o'clock, starting
Okay.
the tour. 2nd Avenue, Broadway. I keep going. I just didn't want to do it all in.
street are you on, did you say?
For the church by the library?
Yeah. Is that library or was that the
What street, right?
Schermerhorn? Mr. Rosenblatt, where are you located right now?
I don't know which street I'm on right now. I need to pull the phone up to identify. We're on Commerce.
Yeah, you're right. Library. Yeah, that looks like church.
For church.
The Fifth Third Bank.
Yeah, you
Fifth
started
Third
at
Bank
church
building.
by the
Yeah.
library. That was the
All right, so there's
storefront glass.
We're still at 407, ringing the bell. I mean, if we're shuttling, where are we shuttling to? Like, where's the shuttle endpoint?
But there's a tour narration occurring.
Is that Hume Fog? Yeah. Coming down 7th thing.
Okay, just keep me so you know I'm not. Just letting you know that I'm not hiding it behind. All right, so we're gonna keep. So we're on an 11-minute shuttle supposedly going around the city. I think we see another Christian Music Hall of Fame. We got another one that's out there parked. Get blown up. We will proceed with the tour right after this. That's their driver telling us that we're on a tour. I mean,
Did you observe people coming on and off the bus?
yeah. I mean, I loaded with all these folks right at 4 o'clock. I mean, the driver just said we will proceed with our tour. I mean, we're at their original stop now. Oh, we had to come back because they forgot somebody. I forgot. I thought I was getting busted. They were actually coming back to get more people. So we're at 4:20 on this shuttle going around the city. There's my tickets. I'm learning. It's a great tour, by the way. It's a great tour. I mean, do I keep going, or do I mean, I've got more. That was just me on
Was that one
that was just
day?
awesome.
Are there other photographs or video or?
That was just my one tour that I wanted to ride. But that's right before. It's just right when I was asking the question. So I mean, I don't have like. Were you operating tours on 27th?
Okay. Yep.
I am curious as well. There was some discussion previously, and my recollection, maybe this will be reflected in the video. They did outline that they were operating tours, and that this is my recollection, that they were operating tours under because they had received verbal approval from TLC staff to operate tours from 4 to 6.
So it's my understanding from Mr. Schlafer, but because this back and forth apparently occurred during the public comment part of the meeting, that it wasn't really taken down in the minutes in the way that we would take down, say, a motion and a second and a vote, but that Mr. Schlafer has managed to find the YouTube footage of that particular meeting. So if you all want to hear it, he can play that for you.
And can you hold on one moment? I just want to make sure we're clear on the record. Ms. Rosenblatt, the video you just showed us, that was from June 27th of 2024, correct?
I've got it from. Pull it up for you. Give me a second to pull up the date on that.
All right.
Because I want to make sure if it's.
Was that before the rules changed?
The rule was changed during a special called meeting in May.
And when was their approved alternate route submitted?
Old Town Trolley. Shortly thereafter, they are one of the approved 4 to 6 routes.
Okay. But they weren't supposed to be going through downtown as part of that route?
No, and this is May 2024 when
Okay.
those routes were approved.
Sorry. If I may also, Mr. Rosenblatt, if you wouldn't mind, if you could provide a copy of that video to Mr. Schlafer, Mr. Rooker, just so that they can make it an official part of the minutes and perhaps provide it to MNN for purposes of rebroadcast. I don't know if that would be possible. They don't know. Okay, well, we'll do the best we can to make it as transparent as possible.
Okay. I could send them that video.
Is the date June 27th, 2024?
I'm looking at just I have it on my phone. So I want to make sure it wasn't before that, and it's on this phone too. I don't know how to. I'm a transfer from Android, so I apologize.
All right, while you're looking that up to verify the date and the time, why don't we go ahead with this video?
Chair, I'm going to play about 90 seconds here.
Okay.
What route is Old Town Trolley doing 4 to 6?
They're dedicated stops. I think how many stops are there? 13 stops.
Where?
Beginning at 2nd Avenue, going anywhere from the TPAC Center all the way to Centennial Park, and various stops in between. It's on our website too. If you'd like to see it.
Were they granted an ability to operate, or they're operating? Is there a written, grant for them to operate during this time, or they're just operating?
There's nothing written, no, sir. We have nothing in writing, nothing that has been proposed. The regulation says 2 to 6, and that's what the regulation says.
Mr. Ripper, they received any citations at all? I thought I was told they had been.
No citations that I know of, Commissioner.
There was a group who, a woman maybe who had video of her hopping on a street and brought that before us. Is that right? With a timestamp, and she looked at her watch and she said, well, this is operating 4 to 6. That maybe before
That was before me, Commissioner. That was August 23rd of last year.
Mr. Chair, if I may. They were given permission to operate on a few routes by the prior director of the TLC. We have since, when this was brought to our attention, in conversations that we've been having with the industry, have met with Old Town Trolley, and they have altered their route. They're no longer operating in the downtown core between 4 and 6. And so we're going to continue to move forward with that operation.
Yes.
Well, what I would recommend, Mr. Rosenblatt, is that you file your written complaint.
Yes.
Put in as much specific information as possible, and although it's not required, but that I think that will help us, and then we'll have a hearing, and we'll ask Old Town Trolley to be here.
May I ask a clarification question?
Yes.
So the previous director did give written permission that they could operate 4 to 6, because this is new to me. Not. I'm just asking.
It was not written permission. It was actually a verbal conversation.
A legal question. This is long ago. I looked at regulatory agencies. Is every time they do it a separate violation, or is every day a separate violation?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, so if you filed a complaint for every day they did it, it's a separate, okay.
We'd have to have evidence supporting every violation every day.
Well, it doesn't need to be a separate complaint for each time. You can allege multiple violations. I just
in the same
was asking for
Multiple violations in one citation, but each day of operating during the prohibited hours would be a separate violation. And we would always appreciate any evidence that they could provide, though.
Chairman, could I ask another legal question like I did on that meeting? Number one, I don't believe the executive former director said that. Number two, even if he did, can he in any way abrogate or change our rules? Or could I do it, or the chair?
I do not believe that they would have that authority. Your rules, well, actually, I take that back. I'm sorry. I think there is an ability to deviate from them by staff. Hang on one second. Okay, I'm sorry. I just typed my password wrong. The worst possible time, of course. Okay, hopefully. No, I just want the code. Hang on, one more time. Okay. There we go. Okay, I'm pulling up, not that one. Section 677.320 of the Metropolitan Code. So the rule that Mr. Schleifer had put on the screen earlier was that 805F. Is that right? So that rule was adopted pursuant to this code provision. And what this code provision says is entertainment transportation vehicles shall operate upon the streets within the metropolitan area on routes or zones and within hours of operation established by the MTLC or its staff. Any deviation from these approved routes, zones, or hours of operation, except for deviations caused by traffic accidents, must be approved by the MTLC or its staff. Any approved deviation must be reported to the MTLC or the MTLC director staff prior to beginning of operations. For the purposes of this section, the term operate shall mean when the entertainment transportation vehicle is transporting passengers and does not include when the driver or employee is operating the transportation vehicle for service repair or when driving to or returning from its point of origin or final destination without passengers.
Is that clear, Mr. Rogers? No.
The phrase or its staff, I believe that says that either that the staff can set the routes as well as the commission itself, and that they can approve modifications from those routes as well as the commission itself.
But it also states that such modification would need to be at least reported to the commission.
What that line is saying is that it needs to be reported by the person requesting the modification before the route is used, so that, you know, assuming you can't ask for forgiveness after the fact. I think that's saying that you have to get that permission before you use the alternate route.
So the allegation or whatever it's called that staff gave that permission is not documented anywhere. It's hearsay, correct?
So, I mean, we don't really know. There's no written documentation. I agree with that statement.
Okay. Mr. Dickerson, you want to come forward with your witness, please? Thank you, Mr. Rosenblatt. I know you introduced yourself before, but please do it again, and remember you're under oath.
Yes, sir. My name's Scooter Pardue. I'm the the operations manager at Old Town Trolley of Nashville.
Just a few questions. Mr. Pardue, you saw the video from the complaint on June 27, 2024. Did Old Town Trolley have an approved route by that point from NDOT?
My understanding is that, yes, we did.
Okay. And did it appear from the video that they were on the approved route?
From what I could tell in the video, yes, sir.
Okay. Does Old Town Trolley operate both ETVs, which are regulated by this commission, and charter buses, which aren't regulated by this commission?
Correct.
Okay. And from the outside, how can one tell whether your trolleys are operating in their ETV capacity or as a charter?
Most of the whenever we have a charter, and a charter could be an actual tour, which could have been the same case here. But I send Mr. Roker emails pretty much daily. If we have a charter that's operating anywhere in that area, 4 to 6 p.m., we have proper signage in the front window, passenger side, and the door too. And we do let TLC and NDOT know that we are operating a charter during that time period.
Okay, so other than a sign in the front and a sign in the window, do the charter tours look essentially the same as the ETV tours?
It's the same vehicle, correct?
Okay. Would it be easy for the public to see a vehicle, one of your trolleys, operating within the downtown core between 4 and 6, thinking it's an ETV when it's actually a charter vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And charter vehicles, again, are allowed within the downtown core between 4 and 6, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm curious, how would Mr. Rosenblatt have bought a ticket and got on your bus if it was a charter?
Is that?
That would have been a little different thing, and I could not tell exactly where he was located on the video. And
He was on the 10th row on the back right side.
I'm talking about the location where
he was traveling down. I mean, so we saw that he went in front of the library, down, I guess it was Church Street, by Hume Fogg, but it was Church Street, and then he would have turned off at Church Street at some point.
And you're saying that could have been an ETV, but they were on the ETV route that was approved by NDOT.
Correct.
So, Mr.
No,
Rosenblatt
hold on. I'm asking the questions.
Pardon, I apologize.
Yeah, my question was, how did he get on the bus with a ticket and ride at 4 o'clock down Church Street if it was a charter?
There was a time period that we were given permission from NDOT, an approved route to work around the corridor.
But not in writing?
It was actually done in this meeting, correct?
No, I'm asking you. There was.
I'm asking you the same thing.
The Transportation Licensing Commission, this board never gave Old Town Trolley a route to operate from 4 to 6 p.m. We were completely unaware that anyone was operating from 4 to 6 p.m., which is why I started to file complaints through Hub to document times that I saw the buses. Now, I didn't know that a charter could also operate as a tour. So if the dates that I sent photos in were incorrect, I didn't know. And I guess somebody could charter a bus. I mean, that's plausible. You could charter a tour, but you shouldn't have people hopping on and hopping off for that. So back to my question, how could he have hopped on? Did he break in?
No, he probably bought the ticket and was doing the tour.
From 4 to 6 p.m. on Church Street at 4 o'clock. Thank you.
May I ask more questions?
Of course.
Sure.
Yeah.
Had you had the ETV route approved by June 27, 2024?
Correct.
And were from the appearance of the video, were they operating on June 27, 2024 within the approved ETV route?
What I can see from the video, it looked like it was the route that was approved.
So it's likely that Mr. Rosenblatt was on an ETV route, but he was operating on an ETV route that had been approved by NDOT, which was permitted.
Correct.
Mr. Perdue?
Yes, sir.
What is the route that was approved?
We have been given permission starting at 4 p.m. And what we've been doing after working with Mr. Rooker and everything else, we leave Union Station. We work our way around 9th Avenue, around 10th. We stay outside of the 8th Avenue to 1st Avenue, reinvets to Union block.
All right, let me see if I understand this correctly. You leave Union, which is over on Demumbrium?
Union Station.
Union Station, okay. And you stay between 9th and 10th?
We use 9th Avenue to get turned around to stay off of 8th Avenue like y'all requested. So we stay off of it. We use 9th to get around, or use 10th Avenue to go back over to Charlotte to stay outside of the Union area.
All right. So you're definitely what I would call west of 8th Avenue?
Correct.
All right. Now, that doesn't reconcile with what I saw in the video. What I saw in the video was the library, which is 6th and Church, correct? Church, correct?
Correct.
7th and Church, 6th and Church, yeah. I saw it go by the Fifth Third Bank building, which is at 5th and Church. I saw it also go by Hume Fogg, which I think on the side there was 6th, going towards Broadway. So how is this trolley in that zone when your approved route is around 9th and 10th west of there?
The only thing that I would have to do some research on that, was there deviations on road construction? Was there changes in what the route was allowed because of events or whatever? I'd have to do the research on. This is the first we've seen
We're
this.
here today.
But I don't know, but it's the first we've seen the video.
And you would agree with me that video showed the trolley in front of the library, showed it going by the Fifth Third Bank building, and showed it going by Hume Fogg, correct?
From what I could see on the video, I'd have to be able to look at it a little better than what I did off of his phone.
Was that a yes or is that a no? Or is that I don't know?
Without knowing, the first time seeing the video, sir, I do apologize.
Did you see the library?
For what I can barely see, I saw a little bit of the library. But then
Hume
again,
Fogg was pretty easy to see, wasn't
Hume Fogg I did recognize, yes,
All right.
sir. Yeah.
So let's just take Hume Fogg. Hume Fogg is between 8th and 7th, isn't it?
Correct.
And with the front side on Broadway, correct?
Correct, sir.
And the back side pointing towards Commerce.
Yes, sir.
That's not in the approved routes, is it?
Yes, sir, but once again, was there something going on? I'd have to look at our dispatch pages to see if there was a reason that we couldn't get to 10th, which is
And as of right now, you don't know of any reason why you would be outside the
I'd have to
approved
look
route.
at our dispatch sheets.
Yes or no?
I do not know any reason why, no.
Okay.
I am curious, Mr. Rosenblatt, are there other, like you made a complaint in March, and there was somebody who made a complaint of the same thing probably 6 or 8 months prior to that. It was April 1st.
Yeah, but the first
he presented to us in March. Are there any other videos or photographs on your phone from?
I've got sent some since I've been up here. Here from March, and yeah, people got the videos, but yeah, I just got sent some more. But
Mr. Rosenblatt, I need to back up on the question I asked you earlier. And again, remember, you're under oath. Was it June 27th of 2024?
so that was exactly what I wanted to tell you. So that video that I took,
Yeah.
date stamp, is from June 27th, 2023. So it's even further back in time.
All right, and the time frame is 4 o'clock to 4:20.
Yes, sir. And it's
All right.
time stamped on here. Anyone can look at it or whatever that
All
needs
right.
to be done.
That's it. That's fine. Thank you. Mr. Dickinson, you look like you had something you wanted to say.
But there were other people in the audience as well who had other videos, and I mean it.
Hold on. Somebody's here.
If other people would like to bring their complaints and have
all of the witnesses sit at the table with the microphones when they're testifying, I think that MNN would appreciate that.
I think it's hard from our side to defend against the video we just saw when there could be some type of extending circumstances such as construction. For us to be able to adequately defend ourselves, we need to be able to have the time to review that, because it may be that we'd concede a violation if we're able to do adequate background research. I also point out that we're talking about something that was a year ago. At some point, I know that the rules have provisions perhaps about how long it takes for a complaint to be brought. I mean, we're talking about something that happened a year ago. It seems like there's a staleness issue. Like, we have records that we have to review to see why it is we were operating in that area.
Am I hearing you ask for a deferment of this hearing till you have time to do that and come back next month?
We'd absolutely request that so we can be able to review. And like I said, perhaps we would concede if we don't have a reason for it.
Well, can we table that for just a moment? All right. And I read your letter. And I know you were asking for specificity of the complaints because they're not in the complaints, the written complaints themselves. So I respect that. I think there was someone who raised their hand in the back there. If you want to be sworn and put under oath and have something to add to today, I think we can hear you. As long as it's really germane to the matter that's before this commission today.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So you want to read it? Mr. Haber found the relevant rule on the staleness issue.
This comes from Section 103 of the TLC rules. Complaints by the public or regulated individuals or companies regarding taxi cabs, records, or other functions of the Transportation Licensing Commission must be filed in writing by the complainant. Anyone wishing to file a complaint might do so by letter, fax, or email. Upon request, a complaint form will be mailed. Complaints must be returned to the commission office at least 14 days prior to a commission meeting in order to be considered for the agenda. The commission reserves the right to hear a complaint which does not meet the 14-day time period, and this is the relevant sentence here. All complaints must be filed within 30 days from the incident. However, the commission reserves the right to hear complaints outside of those parameters.
So we can toll the statute of limitations if equitable reasons demand it, huh?
Correct. That's how I read that.
All right.
What was the time?
30 days.
30 days.
Yeah. All right. What's your name?
Christy Patterson with the Nashville Tractor.
Okay. Ms. Patterson, you want to raise your right hand a second, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. If I may just ask you a question, what is it you want to say? Is it really germane to the complaint that's before us today?
Yes. So I actually purchased the ticket. Mine was on April the 19th. I had communication
Of this year?
Of this year.
Mm-hmm.
I had communication with their little website widget confirming that I needed to hop on at Marathon.
And when you say they, you mean Old Town Trolley?
Correct.
Okay.
So I was there at 4 o'clock to get on for their last tour. The bus was actually late. Went back to the chat widget. They said they were running behind. Got on the bus at 4:15, completed the entire route, and got dropped back off at Marathon a little before 6. And I have videos throughout the whole tour.
And was this a tour or a charter?
It was a tour.
And you know for sure?
100%. I got narration from the driver and everything. I didn't book a charter or a shuttle. I booked a tour.
All right. Thank you for your testimony.
Sure.
Does anybody have any questions or want to see the video at all? You have not filed a complaint, though.
No, I believe some of my evidence, it was in with Mr. Winters.
Okay. And he has dropped his complaint.
Okay.
So, is that correct, Mr. Ricker?
Yes, sir. He filed 2 complaints. He's dropped one of them, and his other one will be heard next month.
And it does not pertain to Old Town Trolley?
No, sir.
Okay.
He dropped the one against Old Town Trolley.
Thank you. And I apologize. What was your last name again?
Patterson.
Patterson. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I got one question.
Yes.
Would your video by any chance show the front or the side of the vehicle where they represent, if it's a private charter, it's so designated as such?
No, I just have videos of the inside of the vehicle.
Okay.
I'm curious, given law changes, say we find that they did operate tours on and off for 2 years with lots of complaints. Say we found that.
I'm so sorry, Mr. Hayes. I was talking
Quite
to
all right.
my colleague. Could you begin the question again?
I'm curious, given the law change that occurred July 1st, and I want to play this out another month. Say we do find that they operated tours every day or 3 days a week for 2 or 2.5 years, as Mr. Rosenblatt alleges. What course of action is the TLC able to take? Because I guess I hear that he just wants to operate from 4 to 6 wherever he wants, whenever he wants. That's a whole different discussion of what we can do. And as I think back about the prior law, we could find that they, didn't operate. They operated when we said that they couldn't, or when the regulations said that they were not allowed to operate, and we could suspend or revoke permits. What happens now?
So, I mean, in terms of what Mr. Rosenblatt wants his complaint to be, that is up to him. When we put him on the spot, he did show you all his video, and so that becomes a part of this record, assuming the technology can accomplish that. But in terms of what you all have to determine is just whether there was any violation, whether there were multiple violations, and if so, of what code or rule sections. And then if the answer to those questions is yes, then which disciplinary action it would be most appropriate to provide. Now, I think in terms of like, you're sort of extrapolating from the evidence from what I hear you saying, Mr. Hayes.
Yeah, well, I'm just wondering, can we subpoena Metro ITS and get all the video feed from downtown Nashville and see that they were operating every single day? And is it worth our time to even do that?
I'm not sure that exists.
So we do it like when somebody breaks into one of our buildings or steals a car, there are police cameras on every other block. And the police come to us first, they take our video, second they get their video, and then they go after the people.
If there are, it's complicated. Police have the blue light cameras. I'm not actually sure how long they keep records, and I don't know that much about them. If you're talking about cameras that are used by Metro to kind of ensure the safety of their own buildings, you actually...
Blue light subpoenaing blue light camera data would show that they were driving around.
I don't know.
I watch them drive past 2 cameras that are on the corner of my building.
Mr. Hayes, I think you are turning yourself into a witness again.
Fair.
So what I would say is there would need to be evidence of every single violation, either that or the company would have to stipulate to the number of violations. If they were willing to do that, that would be fine as well for your purposes. So I really don't think that Metro has eyes on the street to the extent you're describing. The folks from ITS who are sitting behind me just handle M&N stuff, but I don't know if they would know the answer. That is the answer. They would know the answer to that question.
I had to grant easements across our property that they said were ITS, but it was the blue light cameras.
Yeah, so those are police cameras, but ITS provides technical support to MNPD.
Mr. Chair, I have a point of clarification.
Yeah.
I asked a question before if there was a dispute, and I'm still trying to figure out now where the dispute is. Mr. Rosenblatt is alleging that Old Town Trolley was operating between the hours of 4 and 6 on a tour on a route that was unapproved. And having heard the testimony from Old Town Trolley, it seems that they acknowledged that they were operating between 4 and 6 on a route as a tour. I guess the dispute now is whether or not there was some special exception, perhaps a traffic situation that created that, but there doesn't seem to be a dispute that they were operating between 4 and 6 on an unapproved route as a tour.
But I think there may be a question now because we know it's 2023 when the video was taken versus 2024. I think what Mr. Pardue testified to was that the approved route was approved after May of this year, of that 9th to 10th, and the evidence that we have so far is a June 27th of 2023 ride through what I would call Church and 7th, or Church and 7th.
So that 2023 would have preceded the
approval.
The approval. Mm-hmm. Well, that further underlines it.
You could ask Mr. Rosenblatt whether there's any dispute about Old Town Trolley. Don't walk away.
Sorry, you said Mr. Rosenblatt. Want to make sure.
I'm sorry, not Mr. Rosenblatt, Mr. Dickerson.
Yep.
Yeah. You could ask him.
Well, yeah. Do you dispute the allegation then? I guess that there was the complaints that there was operations between 4 and 6, during a time before a approval was given.
Yeah, we definitely dispute that. I think we need to go back and look at our, Old Town Trolley keeps records. They know what's charter, what's not a charter. Then we'd be able to look at that and make a decision about whether or not we'd concede, look, this is obviously some error and that we have operated improperly.
Okay, I thought I understood you to acknowledge that the vehicle was operating at that location at that time, but that you wanted to go back and research to find out if there was a reason why.
I think we want to be able to research all of it. I want to be able to understand what the records show about what that route was, where it was intended to go, whether it's in the wrong street for some other reason. I think without being able to look at our own records for something, it makes it hard to defend this. It makes it hard to say, hey, listen, in this instance, we were doing something wrong. Oh, but in this instance, there was a road closure, and we have that reported in our ticket, and here's why we have it. But there's also another part to this, and I think it's important for this commission to understand, especially those who haven't been here for a long time, is that this has been an ongoing dialogue with this commission and Old Town Trolley for some time. It's not as if we've been operating under a cloud of darkness with respect to our operations. We've repeatedly asked questions of staff, of the commission, and I can go through some of that discussion because I know you've asked these questions about what's happening behind closed doors. I'm happy to give you a description of kind of how the communications and how Old Town Trolley has come to understand how it should operate, if that's helpful for the commission.
Can you enlighten us on the communications that was shown in the video with Director Alarcon in response to Mr. Rosenblatt's questions about, well, I guess point blank, did Old Town Trolley get permission from the previous director to operate between 4 and 6 in the downtown zone?
Can I give you the full picture of it? It's only a 2-pager. I'm happy to. I think it'll help understand full context of it, and that will answer that question.
Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, we've always striven to operate in accordance with this commission and commissioners' requirements and TLC. Our operating hours have always been properly sanctioned, either under the direction of specific TLC commissioners or the permission of NDOT itself. Indeed, it was Old Town Trolley that first raised this issue before the commission nearly 2 years ago. On August 18th, 2022, Old Town Trolley appeared before the TLC requesting to operate during rush hour between 4 and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, citing its unique business structure, right? We operate a little bit differently than traditional ETVs. We have a hop-on, drop-off. So if we drop off people but don't have time to pick them up, they end up getting stranded there. So it's a different business plan than other ETVs has. So we asked for this particular permission. Requires passengers back to their point of origin from where they were dropped off, often during rush hour. After hearing and discussing the request, Commissioner Hayes made a motion to move on without a definitive ruling on OTT's request. However, Commissioner Williams asked OTT to modify their route to avoid being in the downtown core during rush hour. Although the downtown core was not defined at that time, Commissioner Williams specifically requested OTT avoid 2nd Avenue and Broadway and 5th Avenue at the Ryman. With no commission ruling denying their request and in response to Commissioner Williams' request, OTT changed their tours substantially, altered their routes, and stopped initiating tours on Monday through Friday between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. OTT continued to finish tours between 4 and 6 p.m. without issue or complaint from the staff, competitors, or the general public whatsoever for the next 12 months. In August of 2023, facing the prospect of a possible reduction in the number of overall operators, OTT's ETV competitors began making informal complaints to NDOT at TLC meetings regarding OTT's operations during rush hour. In July 2023, then TLC Director Billy Fields and upcoming TLC Director Ricky Rooker began conversations with OTT and its representatives regarding operation during these hours. On each occasion, OTT advised Director Rooker of their understanding that if a tour had started before 4, it can remain on the road after 4 p.m. to complete the tour, so long as no new tours began between 4 and 6. Additionally, OTT reminded Director Rooker and OTT that OTT had modified their route in response to Commissioner Williams' comments. OTT repeatedly pointed out that they had never been cited for these operations and that their understanding continued to be that with the modified route, they could operate during those hours. OTT and NDOT, along with the Downtown Commissioner Jacob Coupin, continued these conversations for several months in an effort to resolve concerns related to the operation during rush hour. At no point during these meetings did NDOT issue a citation against OTT or suggest that a citation would be issued. On March 6, 2024, NDOT Director Diana Alarcon advised OTT that the regulations did in fact prohibit operations between 4 and 6 p.m. in the downtown core. She further stated that she did not have the authority to provide approval for our requested operation, and that she must ask that until we get this back before the commission, operations in the downtown core stop between 4 and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. OTT modified its routes immediately and ceased any operation in the core between those hours. The following day, on March 7, 2024, during an unrelated TLC workshop session where the issue of rush hour operations was raised by an ETV competitor, Metro Legal advised NDOT that it had administrative authority to identify routes and hours of operations for ETVs. In response to this public acknowledgement of administrative authority, on March 15, 2024, OTT representatives again contacted Directors Alarcon and Rooker seeking official administrative approval of OTT's operations outside the downtown core during rush hour. Thereafter, OTT and NDOT met again on March 20th, 2024. During that meeting, NDOT agreed to create a newly designated drop-off point outside the core that would allow OTT to operate during rush hours without entering the core. OTT agreed to that route and conditioned on that concession, NDOT granted OTT official approval to operate on that route during the weekday between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. The following day, on March 21st, 2024, Mr. Rosenblatt, owner of Honky Tonk Party Express, made an oral complaint to the TLC regarding OTT's operation and would advise that he would need to file a written complaint. 2 weeks later, TLC Director Rooker advised OTT's representatives that 2 complaints had been filed by ETV competitors regarding their rush hour operation. On April 24, 2024, at 2:50 p.m., Director Alarcon reversed her administrative approval and ordered that OTT cease operation during the hours in question immediately. OTT representative advised Director Alarcon that immediate cessation in the middle of an operational day would leave passengers stranded without a ride, but that OTT would stop the operating between the hours in question the following day. OTT ceased all ETV operations between 4 and 6 p.m. the next day. As a result of the complaints filed by Rosenblatt, Lyon, and Winters, NDOT recommended an amendment to the TLC rules allowing ETVs to operate between the hours of 4 and 6 p.m. Monday through Friday outside the downtown core and on an approved route. On May 9th, the Commission adopted the rule change. Thereafter, OTT submitted a request for route approval and received the approval on May 29th, 2024. As this demonstrates, OTT has always tried to follow the rule interpretations of this body and NDOT staff. When Commissioner Williams asked us to operate outside the core during rush hour, OTT complied by modifying its routes and not starting any tours during rush hour. When Director Alarcon ordered that OTT could not operate at all within the downtown core during rush hour, OTT stopped operating in the downtown core during rush hour. When Director Alarcon later rescinded her administrative approval to operate on a fixed route during rush hour and ordered OTT to stop operating during rush hour, OTT stopped operating during rush hour. OTT will continue to abide by the rules of this body and the NDOT staff charged with enforcing those rules.
The only clarification, or the only thing I would object to on that was that this commission never had it before us about approving Old Town Trolley to operate between 4 and 6. We never actually approved that. What we did was modify or amend the 805F to allow administration to review requests to operate between 4 and 6 and to approve specific routes.
I would ask you to review the August 18th, 2022 recording.
Wait, I'm talking about this year, not all the way back to 2022, because I heard you say that something between April and May that we had approved Old Town Trolley's exception to the prohibition of 4 to 6. We've never had that on our plate in front of us.
No, but staff has reviewed that issue.
I just want to make sure it's clear that we did not make that change, and we did change or amend the rule to allow staff to entertain requests and to make approvals of that. Okay. All right, anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Yes.
In his statements, a couple of times he said in 2023, Director Rooker. Rooker wasn't director in 2023.
I apologize for the misidentification.
That's okay. I just wanted it on the record that I didn't become the director until this year.
Okay. Mr. Dickerson, if you come back up, I want to make sure that you are clear on the dates that we've had evidence presented today. Do you have any question about those dates?
I have June 27th, 2024, and April 2023 now. Yeah. And April 19th, 2024. I believe they're the only 2 dates that I heard.
And are you still interested in a continuance of this hearing in order to investigate the Old Town Trolley's records to see if you can provide explanation on those 2 dates?
Yes, we would like to request that, please.
All right. Is that a formal request?
That's a formal
All
request.
right. Thank you, sir. All right. I'm up for any kind of deliberation, discussions, or thoughts from members of the commission, besides the fact that most of us may be thoroughly confused at this point. But
Second the motion. Pretty much asking for continuance, right?
I'd like to hear any commentary from Director Alarcon, please.
First, my apologies for not being here at the beginning of the meeting. I had conflicts today. I was actually at an event talking with the community on our transportation initiatives as a whole. I missed a lot of this, so I'm not sure what was spoken before, so I'll only speak to what I did hear. I think that the statement put out was pretty accurate. I will just share that I was informed when it was brought to my attention after Director
Fields.
Thank you. God, I drew a blank. Director Fields retired from us. I was informed by Old Town Trolley's attorneys that I had asked why they were operating between 4 and 6 when it was clear that they were not to. I was told by their attorneys that they were given permission by Mr. Fields. I asked if they had that in writing. They shared with me they did not. And I said, well, we need to get this corrected, but you're not allowed to operate in the downtown area. So we actually did have a conversation about what that route could look like outside the downtown area, and had discussed about where their routes and drop-off and pickups would need to be, so that they would not be in the downtown. And yes, this would be able to be a benefit to everyone, not just Old Town Trolley. So they were to get a map back to us, which they did. And in about this time, there was further investigation into what the rule said, and it was actually no one could operate in the county between 4 and 6, which is not what I understood. So that's when I drafted a letter and actually sent it over to Town Trolley, telling them that they could not operate between 4 and 6 until we brought this rule back before this commission to make a decision and amend it and change it so that we could give the opportunity. And that's where we came up with the new rule, which would allow someone to present a route that would then be approved by the director, Roker, and then also approved by our chief traffic engineer, our chief engineer, to make sure it didn't create any issues or problems. And if it was signed off by both, y'all gave us then permission to approve the route, and we posted on the website so it can be used by others, not just Old Town Trolley. So that is the process we have been following. So I just wanted to add that little bit of information.
Yes, what I'm acknowledging the request for a continuance. I would ask my fellow commissioners whether that would be necessary if there were some decision, maybe there's an appetite for discipline, and if that were the case, maybe there would be need for a continuance to next month. But if there wasn't an appetite for a discipline, given the extent of time in which we're talking about here, we've got a complaint of 2.5 years of violations. We've got a video from last year. We've got different things. And there's been a rule change in the process. We have new commissioners that are here that weren't present for other discussions. Perhaps if there wasn't an appetite for discipline, and maybe there is, and again, maybe that would warrant a continuance for if that were the thing that the commission wanted to do, perhaps we could, from my own perspective, is that I would like for there to be clarity that Old Town Trolley, I almost wanted to say Old Time Pottery, but Old Time Trolley, that they don't have any authority to operate in the downtown core between 4 and 6, because that is my own personal, would be my vote, would be to clarify that they don't get a different rule than the other ETVs that are not able to operate during that time. I didn't get a sense from Mr. Rosenblatt that he was actually looking for discipline. He was actually looking for fair treatment. So with that, I just wanted to share my thoughts about that and welcome others.
Yeah, Commissioner Penley, one of the things is usually we make a decision whether there's been a violation before we decide whether there's an appetite for discipline. However, I think you might actually, by putting the cart before the horse, we might be able to resolve this matter today. You bring up a good point. instead of maybe looking at it in terms of whether we think discipline should occur here or not, it might be a question of whether this commission needs, whether the commissioners need any further evidence in being able to decide to dismiss the complaint. I'm afraid that probably is the position we would need to look to explore first.
I don't want to say I have an appetite for discipline, but if we do find there is a violation, obviously there's a difference between finding that whatever particular date that video was done doesn't mean the allegation that they continued to do it could be verified. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Because that's what we have to find first. There was a violation, correct?
Yes, there's
Correct.
no basis for discipline if there's no finding of a violation.
So discipline about 1 day's violation, I would just point out, would be different than if we found evidence that it had continued, even if we think it had continued. Does that make sense?
Ms. Costonis, I'm going to put you on the spot. Summarize for you what you think we've seen evidence of today.
So I didn't actually watch the video. So I kind of can't, but I can tell you what I heard. So, I mean, I think when Mr. Rosenblatt initially started presenting his case, he was, as I think the chair previously observed, kind of using the complaint and disciplinary action vehicle as a way to ask for fair treatment, as I think you phrased it. When I brought that to his attention, that if he wanted to bring any allegations of violations on the part of OTT, he needed to provide evidence of that and authenticate that evidence. He then at that point showed the video to the commission members, and I think you all can draw your own conclusions about what that video showed. I believe the testimony has been established that the date of that video was from April 27, 2023. And I think there was June 27, 2023, my bad. And then I think there was another lady who came forward.
Ms. Patterson.
Ms. Patterson, yes. And she also testified that she had some evidence of them operating between the 4 to 6 hours during the period in which, you know, that prohibition had been in place, and it does remain in place as to the downtown area, although people may request alternate routes outside of downtown at this point. So she did not present that evidence, and the TLC did not ask her to.
Actually, she testified.
Her testimony is evidence, yes, but she didn't present the video.
She had personal experience of the violation because she rode the trolley.
Yes. So her testimony does qualify as evidence in and of itself. She was sworn in, but she did not present a video to y'all. So y'all did not see what her video evidence was.
So it seems to me we have evidence of a violation on June 27th, 2023, and evidence of a violation on April 19th of 2024. Before us today.
Yes, I mean, I think that you've had evidence presented to you from which you could draw that conclusion.
And I should say, instead of saying a violation, I'm saying that we have evidence of the trolley operating on June 27th, 2023, and again on April 19th of 2024. One question I've got that, and this is why I said I'm still a little confused, is in what Mr. Dickerson just read to us, my question is, on those days, was Old Town Trolley operating under the appearance of permission to operate from either the former director or the current director, or, yeah, I guess, because I think we've all in agreement that there have been changes in the position of the director of NDOT and the director of the TLC at different times during the relevant periods here. Am I correct? Ms. Alicon? Yes, sir. Okay. Mr. Rooker? As director of TLC, your name was mentioned a couple times, and I recognize you were not the director, but apparently there were times when permission was given to Old Town Trolley and then rescinded at different times.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
This was the June of 2020.
June 27th of 2023.
So we had conversations with then Director Fields and upcoming Director.
I'm sorry, but if Mr. Dickerson is testifying as a witness, he needs to be sworn in as well.
You ready?
And his client may want to talk to him about whether he can be both a witness and an attorney.
And again, I'm happy to.
As the attorney, he can certainly state things that his investigation has developed and share those with us without being sworn in as a witness. Okay.
And I was at this meeting with the directors.
Well, then don't go that far because you might end up being a witness now. Okay. But conversations is not what we're looking for. What we want to know is, did you have explicit authority, approval to operate on June 27, 2023 and April 19th of 2024? Yes or no?
I think it's up to the commission to determine whether the statement by Commissioner Williams at the hearing saying just operate outside downtown qualifies as direction such that it would be reasonable for OTT to have relied on it. I understand that's not a formal motion. I can step in to Ms. Costonis' statement here. That's not a formal motion accepted. It's not a policy, but it is something that was raised, and a specific commissioner gave directions at the hearing. It'll be on the videotape for you to watch, saying what we should do. So I think while it may not qualify as an amendment to your rule, it certainly is a direction from a commissioner in front of everybody as to how to perform.
Now, wait a second. We have lots of discussions up here because we can't have private discussions in the back room anywhere. And I may say something like, I'd be okay if they weren't operating downtown because it wouldn't cause a traffic problem. That doesn't give you, that certainly is not something for you to rely upon to go changing the rules.
I certainly understand that. And that's why I'm conceding the point that it wasn't a motion. However, I would ask that you look at the tape of that before you make a judgment on whether or not it was reasonable for OTT to think that they had been given permission to do that.
You're saying, just so I'm clear, to the extent one commissioner said something that was not voted on, may have said something that was not voted on by the TLC, that you take a offhand comment of one person to be permission?
Well, I don't think it was an offhand comment.
If we may, Ms. Haber has found the minutes from the meeting in question.
Lovely.
Okay, this is from the August 18, 2022 meeting minutes. Old Town Trolley, represented by Steve Barres, was present to request alterations to the TLC Entertainment Transportation rules related to seated sightseeing companies. Commissioner Williams requested the TLC staff to develop rule language to better separate seated sightseeing companies from other ET companies. After some discussion, Commissioner Rogers, with a second from Commissioner Hayes, moved to the next agenda item with no action.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Other thoughts, deliberation?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. When Mr. Rosenblatt, the alleged allegation, your first offense is written in your letter of June 14th saying that it was a Old Town Trolley vehicle operating as a private charter. And it seems like now you're wanting to change your defense about what that was. It wasn't a charter. You're operating as a tour. You had to reroute this route because of potentially some other cause.
Commissioner, I'm at a deficit because I don't know what it was, and I'd like to review our records to be able to say that. But if it's a charter, if it's operating outside because of some type of construction that required the removal, like those are all things that I think are defenses we should be allowed to allege with a little bit of research to determine what the issue is. And if we don't have a defense, we'll concede that point.
Can I say something? Hearing what the gentleman has said, he's basically said he wants to defend his client. So I move that we defer this matter till next month so he can do so.
Motion on the tape. And there's a second. May the record reflect that Commissioner Powell has seconded the motion. Any discussion, deliberation?
As a tour operator myself, who is constantly rerouted, having roads closed, rivers closed, and all sorts of other impediments to my regular business routes, I think it's a fair, I think it would be fair to allow them to look at what was happening on those dates to see if there was a reason for them operating in those zones.
Commissioner Penley, you had suggested something about looking at whether discipline was even necessary in this case. Any input or any thoughts?
At this time, I'm not prepared to move to dismiss the complaint. So if the request is for continuance so that we can find the evidence shows that there was or wasn't a violation, I support that.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The motion carries. Mr. Dickerson, I would like you to be prepared to the narrow topics of what your defense would be about April 19th, 2024 and June 27th of 2023.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Mr. Rooker, you look like you got something to say.
Yes, Chair. The other complaint from Nicholas Lyons, he was notified to be here. I don't believe he is here. I didn't know if the commission wanted to take that up as dismiss his complaint.
I was going to bring that up in just a moment.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry.
Is there anyone here on behalf of Nicholas Lyons' complaint against Old Town Trolley? You know, I might let Mr. Dickerson make a motion.
Would the commission entertain a motion to dismiss that complaint?
Is that a motion?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Is there a motion from any of the commissioner about Mr. Dickerson's motion on behalf of his client?
I'll move we dismiss the complaint.
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion on the motion?
Was there any evidence presented, any photographs, video presented with his complaint?
Not to our office, no, sir.
Yeah, I didn't see any in the letter. And was the date of what was the date of his? There it is, April 3rd.
That's when his complaint was filed.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess Mr. Lyon theoretically could provide, if he is so inclined, evidence at the continuation that supports his complaint, which is the same as Mr. Rosenblatt's. If he has other evidence, he's able to come here and share it with us because the complaint's the same as Rosenblatt. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And also, if we found there was a violation, Mr. Lyons could present evidence that might impact the disciplinary action to be taken. So,
May I address the commission?
I got
One issue that I have is that on that particular complaint, there's also no dates and times. There's a date that he filed the complaint, but sitting here today, I don't know what date and time he said.
Don't ask for anything more. You got a motion to dismiss up here right now.
Sorry, I thought you were.
All those in favor of the motion that's on the table to dismiss Mr. Lyons' complaint against Old Town Trolley, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, your motion carries. Or Commissioner Rogers' motion carries. Okay. I also want to point out to the commission that I am not permitted to vote. So if you don't hear me saying aye or nay, please understand why. That may be one. Say what? Except when there's a tie. Correct. Or to make a tie?
Yep.
Okay.
No, you can vote to make a tie or break a tie.
I'm trying to remember that. Okay. I would like to propose a 5-minute break, bathroom break, lunch break, whatever. We will resume at 10 till 3. Come on, Commissioner Claver.
Yes.
She's all right. All right. We're going to rip through this next part. All right, we're back on the air again. Mr. Rooker, we have an item on the agenda called the consent item. Could you tell us what that's about and what you're proposing?
Yes, sir. These are other passenger vehicle for hire or OPVH new company applications. These are what we call the Uber Black, the big sedan, the big SUVs generally is what these are. There are 11 companies that have made application. Their applications are in order. So you can approve and read the names of the companies in the motion.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the 11 new companies for other passenger vehicles for hire?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any deliberation or discussion about the motion that's on the table?
I'm happy to vote along with this and approve this group. I did notice that last meeting we had a taxi request for more permits, and I think the request for 20, and that wasn't on the consent item. And these are obviously not the same; they're not taxis, but the deliberation over adding 11 new today of these vehicles versus 20 taxis was about an hour's difference worth of deliberation. So I'd be interested in maybe offline knowing what makes a consent item and why the number of these are.
I'm not sure I can answer the procedural question. I'll leave that to Mr. Rooker, but I will say that the other passenger vehicle for hire chapter of the code, I believe, maybe other than booting, which has its own issues, is the only one that doesn't have that condition prerequisite that you make a determination or a finding as to whether there is a public necessity and convenience for the other passenger vehicles for hire. Now, just to make that complicated, I believe that the code does refer to them as certificates of public necessity and convenience nonetheless, but it doesn't have the separate language that says, you need to make this prerequisite finding of what number, the public needs and necessitates before you award any new certificates.
Thank you. That speaks to the answer of the consent calendar. Thank you.
As a fellow newbie, I appreciate that question. Another question on this: are we assuming that these are not tours? This is just point-to-point transportation. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, if they meet the definition of entertainment transportation, then they would need to apply under that section or chapter of the code instead.
And most of these are the ones you see on the street that are the black SUVs, the Escalades, the Tahoes, whatever, and on the license plate it will say CB and then the number. And Mr. Rooker has already advised me that he is keeping track of the number of these that we approve, because there's been a balance between the reduction of the number of cabs that are out on the street and the increase of the number of black Uber as well as Uber itself, but we don't have any authority over Uber, but we do over black Uber. So Mr. Rooker's keeping an eye on that balance so that we don't get it out of whack and run into concerns about inconveniencing the public and being unnecessary.
And these vehicles are generally point to point. They don't go down, or they're not supposed to go down and solicit rides or solicit, like a cab does.
How many?
Their rides must be prearranged.
Right.
How many OPVH companies are already approved?
I'm going to say, I don't have the exact number, but it's close to, would you say 500? And it's not, it's on a consent because of the certificate. You don't have, it's up to you as to whether or not to grant their permit.
Past that, it's open up. Do you use Uber or Lyft?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have optics into the Black and the Lux, and we approve drivers for those with background checks, but the Comfort and the EV and the plus, anything that's the next price tier down, we don't have any optics, and I don't think we have optics into the number of cars, who the drivers are, what their background is, but am I wrong?
I can clarify that one too. So there is a state statute that preempts Metro from regulating what are called transportation network companies, or TNCs, which includes Uber and Lyft. I believe with the Uber Black, they just want to offer like a higher level of service to the customer. So one of those points of higher level of service is to say, yes, this company has been licensed by the local licensing board. So they want that, they ask for that, and so they voluntarily submit that to you. But this commission, or Metro in general, doesn't have authority to regulate transportation network companies.
Does NDOT have any input on whether we should approve more of these?
Thank you very much, Diana Alarcon. We did review this with Director Roker before it was put on about the number. And so at this point, we're comfortable with it. But we are getting concerned to that tipping point. But I wouldn't say we're there yet at that capacity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And to just to clarify, maybe leaving a little bit more, these companies come in business, they go out of business. They're not consistent in their business model, so to speak. So we lose some, we pick some up.
Thank y'all for entertaining the newbies. I'm do a motion.
Call for the question.
All right, there's a motion on the table, but I think it's going to be important that I name the companies that are being approved in the motion. There's a motion on the table to approve the other passenger vehicles for hire that's on the agenda. That is Upscale Journeys, Lux Black Car Service LLC, Deluxe Rides TN LLC, Rosa Black Cars, Quick Limousine Service, Lux Ride DX Limo, DeBorg Services LLC, Eric Drescher, C&Y LLC, and Murfreesboro Limo Transportation. All right, there's a motion on the table. It's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Next on our agenda is the entertainment transportation request to modify ownership. Mr. Rooker?
Yes, Chair. B&T Transportation LLC, doing business as Party Bus Music City, is adding two partners, Justin Lillard and Chris Keith. Anytime that we have a change to what was filed on the original application, it has to come before the commission for approval. All their paperwork is in order, and staff would recommend approval.
Is there a motion or any questions first? Is there a motion?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So this is for
B&T Transportation.
For B&T Transportation. It says on here the company affiliation is Rowdy Bus. Is Rowdy Bus a permitted through the TLC?
Yes, ma'am.
So are they combining?
I'm not looking at the application. Hold on just one moment.
I've got some clarification from staff. Apparently, Justin Lillard had applied, and I believe he's here, had applied as a driver for Rowdy Bus, and he might be pivoting into another company.
He had applied as a driver. Could you repeat that?
As a driver for Rowdy Bus, and it looks like he might be coming into
Pivoting
ownership
to
in a different part of
The
the
company owner.
I'll move to approve.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion to permit the additional partners of Justin Lillard and Chris Keith for B&T Transportation is approved. All right, next on the agenda, Mr. Rooker, is the entertainment transportation, consideration of additional permits, as well as the consideration of permit swaps, and this was deferred from May of 2024, where I think we were going to put it on the agenda to see if there was any interest in increasing any permits, and then whether there was any interest by the commission in exploring whether there's approval of approving swaps of permits.
That is correct, sir. We were going to try to get a special meeting to address this issue. We never were able to put that together. So we put this on the agenda because it was carried over from May, and it was asked that it be put on for the consideration of additional permits and for people to ask if they could swap an ETV for a sightseeing or a sightseeing for an ETV. So that's why it's on your agenda for discussion today.
So, am I correct that I think the first question is the commissioners have any interest in entertaining increasing permits for entertainment transportation vehicles?
No.
No. No.
I understand. It's discussions first, please. All right. Commissioner Rogers, do you have a motion?
I have a motion that we approve no new permits for entertainment vehicles. Is that the proper motion?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? Well, I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I think that there should be a little for the record.
Yes.
I didn't have the benefit last month of having been able to review the Connect Downtown study. It's clear from that document and the study and the work that was done on that the number that exists right now with respect to ETVs is already higher than what's been recommended. It hasn't been in effect that long. There are several steps in the Connect Downtown study of moving forward to help alleviate some of the congestion. I think that it wouldn't make sense at this time to increase the number of vehicles while those other steps are being taken to try to help with congestion. And so that's my thought for the record.
Commissioner Penley, I appreciate you adding that because, as Metro Legal will tell you, if someone were to go to Chancery Court with a lawsuit about one of our decisions here on this commission, it's always helpful if we have a reasonable, rational, factual basis for our motion.
There's an item on the agenda for me to tell you that later.
Yes, I understand that. Yeah. All right. So there's a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. There's been a motion that's carried about not to consider approving any additional permits for entertainment transportation vehicles. Now, the next question, I guess, then, is there any interest in exploring approval of swaps of permits? And that swap, I guess, is from, I think, if I understand correctly, everybody's asking to go from sightseeing to entertainment transportation vehicles.
Except for Nashville Bar Bus, who would like to propose an ET for a pedal carriage.
Okay.
Okay. Y'all can discuss all you want, but my answer is no. So you want me to make a motion now, or
no? I want you to
want to discuss first.
I want you to tell us why you're proposing or why you're saying no.
Because all of the requests, I think, as TD just said, are for more entertainment vehicles. Correct? Nobody's asking for more touring vehicles, although I think there was one at our previous meeting. Correct?
They were Redneck Comedy Tours, what you're referring to. They were requesting an additional sightseeing permit.
But they're
not a swap.
They're not, yeah, okay. But they're not part of this request. Okay. Okay. Well, I'll make a motion as soon as it's possible that we do not approve any changes between different kinds of licenses. Is that?
Yes. Commissioner?
I just like to add reason as to why I would agree with Mr. Rogers, Commissioner Rogers, as to that effect. I had the blessing and time to more than, what was it, 30 hours, maybe we had less than that, 24 hours last time, to review rules and procedures. And Ms. Castonis, please jump in if I'm wrong, but there is a different public necessity and convenience weighing between the sightseeing vehicles and the other vehicles, so that a trade wouldn't be appropriate without a specific finding that there was a public need for the trade. And so there's no other process that's mentioned, to my knowledge, in the procedures or in the code that speaks to a trade between the two. And since they're not apples to apples per se, there's also the enclosure requirements that are now enjoined from being enforced, but a sightseeing vehicle wouldn't have to have those, and unless there was some sightseeing vehicle that was willing to be treated like that. I mean, it just wouldn't be. It's just not apples to apples in my book for a trade, so to speak.
I think Commissioner Penley, I think you're exactly right, and you've even caught a couple of things that I hadn't thought of. So yes, I think all of that is exactly right.
I agree with you, Commissioner Penley. The other thing that is just whatever it's about, I think that if we allow this, it opens sets a precedent, kind of opens a can of worms for other types of swaps, and I just don't think that that's something that's advisable for us to do.
My comment was going to be what she just said.
Okay.
The potential precedent that it would set.
Mr. Chair, I don't think I got a second.
Would you do me a favor and go ahead and restate the motion then?
What they said, no. I make a motion that we entertain no swaps between different types of licenses.
Second.
All right. And before we go ask for a vote on it, Director Alicorn, does NDOT have a position on this, or is there? Would you agree with some of the comments that have already been made?
I'm going to agree with the comments that have been made.
Thank you. All right. There's been a motion on the table and a second that the commission is not going to entertain requests for the swaps of permits from either entertainment transportation vehicles to sightseeing or sightseeing to entertainment transportation. I would also agree with Commissioner Penley's comment that to even begin to entertain that, we'd have to find that there was a public necessity and convenience for the swapping of the permits. Motion's on the table. It's been seconded. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. All right. Moving on to the next agenda item. Mr. Rooker, we're up to taxi cabs.
Taxi cabs.
And we've had a lot of public interest in that today.
Yes, sir. We're going to cover some of that here shortly. The first item on your agenda under taxi cabs is approval request for the new company. As you remember last month, Regal Taxi, you granted them 22 new permits for, or it might have been the meeting before. I think it was the meeting before. 22 new permits for to operate in Nashville. You also have to approve their color scheme of their cab. And if you can look over at the screen right now, I think their color scheme is, I think that's going to be a kind of a gold or yellow and black. So commission has to approve that color scheme.
Is that Bumblebee from Transformers?
It looks kind of like it. Yes, sir, it does. It's actually quite a good-looking color scheme.
What is the emblem down there on the back, sort of on the back quarter panel?
TD, can you enlarge that at all?
What is it?
I can tell you it's a lion. This is Regal Taxi. So let me see if I can zoom in on it.
And it looks like their name is prominently on the driver's door?
Yes, sir. Staff does recommend approval of this color scheme, and it's actually a very nice looking taxi cab.
Wow. What does the other side of the vehicle look like?
It's supposed to look like the same as that side of the vehicle. So we will make sure they're all the same.
Mm-hmm.
I can't rotate it, but your packet should have contained pictures.
Mr. Hayes has got it showing it quite nicely.
Big that's on the hood too.
And we do.
Yeah, the line on the hood.
We have representatives of Regal Taxi available in the audience today.
For the record, it looks nice.
All right, is there a motion? We got to have a motion.
Move to approve color scheme.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Second. All right, any discussion about the color scheme or input from the commissioners?
It looks really nice.
Yeah. And I think two of the commissioners have already said that it looks really nice. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Then this was something that someone from several of the taxi cab companies had asked or spoke about this during the public comment about approval of reverting taxi cab fees to pre-pandemic levels of $75 per vehicle and $45 quarterly per permit. As I remember, during the pandemic, this commission lowered the fees to what, $15, I think. Mr. Rooker, maybe you should take over.
It was 15 and 5, I believe, is what it was lowered to. The reason this is on your agenda today is because of the end of the federal COVID-19 public health emergency declaration ended in 2023. So we wanted this on your radar screen, and we understand several companies have been up to explain that they need more time, that they have not rebounded from this. But since that act is now no longer here, it's expired. We wanted it to come before the commissions to let you know, A, that it expired, and B, if you wanted to raise it back up to the original price of the fees.
Was the lowering of the rate contingent upon the existence of the pandemic declaration?
Yes, sir, it was.
All right. So with that gone, the rate should be going up anyway.
That was what gave you the authority to lower the rate, yes, sir. And when that expired, probably should have brought this to you before now, but when it expired, the authority for that no longer was there.
So, Mr. Costonis, is there anything? Do we even have to take any action here as a commission?
I mean, I'm not sure. Do you have it from the minutes, Ricky, in terms of what was adopted previously?
I guess I'm curious whether our hands are tied.
Yes. I think it's in your packets.
It was included in the packets. This was the
September
2020 minutes, and they were supposed to revert once the public health emergency declaration ended. It extended for a period longer than the commission anticipated at the time. The commission took it back up in August 2021 and voted to retain those same rates. 2022 didn't take it up. 2023 didn't take it up. Staff brought it to our attention that those pre-pandemic rates, as we come to taxi cab renewal next month, what are we doing with the rates? So we wanted to bring it to the commission to see if we want a motion to continue this or if we're going back to the original rates pre-pandemic.
I think for clarity, given that history, it would be good to have an official motion saying what the rates should be at this point going forward.
How many vehicles are we talking about here?
552.
So your interpretation is that they don't automatically go back to the original rates because it's not real clear in these minutes.
So I haven't seen the minutes. I haven't seen the exact language.
They're in mine.
They're not in what I have. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Sheffield, can you put them up on the board up there? Thank you. You did a nice job of highlighting them. I just
it appears.
Go ahead, Ms. Brooks.
I can read aloud this. In order to respond to this emergency, the Metropolitan Licensing Commission takes the following action. Effective upon adoption of the rule, each certificate holder shall remit a fee of $20 per taxi cab and $5 per taxi cab per quarter for the 2020-2021 renewal period ending on August 31, 2021. For the 2021-2022 annual renewal period commencing August 1st through August 31, 2021, the annual fee to renew the certificate of public convenience and necessity to be collected will revert to $75 per vehicle, and the quarterly taxi cab fee will revert to $45 per vehicle unless the public health emergency declaration remains in place. So I think that's saying it automatically expired as of August 31, but I think that Mr. Schlafer was saying that that the commission in fact declined to go back to that number at that point in time. So like I said, given that element of confusion, I think it would be good to just go ahead and clarify what you want the rates to be.
As I read it, I took the opinion. I probably should have checked with legal on this a little more. I took the opinion that is that because you lowered it and you made it a part of your rule, that it needed to come back before you for action.
And it's also sorry, Chair, if I may. It's also the August 2021 meeting, the subsequent year when this commission met again. The motion there doesn't give an expiration date. So we now know the public health emergency declaration has ended, and so we're bringing it back.
Mr. Rooker, would you explain what the specific fees are?
Yes, sir. The $75 per vehicle, that is the $75 permit per vehicle. The
is
45
that per year or?
Yeah, that's yes, sir, per year. The $45 quarterly, that's just in the code, and that is a license for them to operate. So each quarter they're supposed to pay us $45 to continue their operation license. So the permits for the vehicle $75. The license is for the company $45 quarterly.
And currently the rate is $15 and $5.
Yes, sir. 20. I'm sorry. Yeah, 15. Yes, sir. 20 and 5.
20 and 5. Okay.
Yes, 20 for the vehicle and 5 for the quarterly permit.
Do you remember when those rates were first set? Do you know?
I would have to refer to
It was a long time ago, right?
my history people over there.
That's fine. The point is they were around for quite a while. I'll make a motion that we allow or we move to revert the rates to their original amounts.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion or further discussion about the motion that's on the table?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have a question for our NDOT friends here. There were some comments made during the public comment period about ridership with taxis, that it was not up to where it was pre-pandemic levels with the take rate, so to speak. Do we have any verification that is accurate testimony or, okay.
All right, I just did some back of the napkin math. The annual, with 552 vehicles, the annual intake is $52,440, and the quarter, it's $41,400 with the pre-pandemic levels, and it would be $11,040 with the pandemic levels. So it's a bit difference of about $30,000. Where does that money go to NDOT?
It goes to the general fund, and then general fund would, if they so choose to give it back to NDOT, that's what they would do.
Okay.
If I may,
Director may want to speak.
if I may speak, it actually is part of our budget. So the cost to do business is built into that. So that is part of it's that. So we actually do an estimate. And we actually just did a rate review, but I don't have the fee rate review back yet to look at it. But the dollar that it was set at 75 prior to the pandemic was based on what it cost to do business for us at that time, because we do a cost recovery versus we're not out to make money. So the dollars go in, and so the revenue minus the expenses of overall operations is what the dollars go toward.
Thank you. It looks like a total difference of about $50,000. Is that material to you?
Yes, ma'am.
I go back and forth on this one. As a tour operator, again, putting that hat on, I pay 15% of every boat ticket I sell to Metro Parks, and it is the hardest check I write every quarter. So, I understand from a business owner's perspective that this can be, this can be difficult. So, definitely see both sides on that. Thank you.
If I can speak in favor of my motion, This was the fees that we were charging prior to the pandemic. So it's actually not an increase. If you count inflation, it's actually a decrease. Second of all, it's used to catch part of the administrative responsibility is to catch those illegal taxis, correct? As part of the regulatory responsibility of the department. And I'm pretty sure what you were saying, state law allows us to charge only what it cost us to regulate the industry, correct?
I mean, yes, in many provisions of Section 6, Chapter 672 that regulates taxis, it specifically refers to the cost of the fee being equivalent to the cost of processing the application, which would be established by a fee study, such as the director was referencing. But in general, also, there is a more general principle of law that cities don't have authority to tax. The state legislature reserves that authority. And so we can't create a revenue-generating fee and impose that on people, because that would effectively be a tax. So we can recover our costs, but that's it.
Director Alarcon, at these levels, would you be recovering your costs?
No, it's actually we're completing a fee structure, and actually I'm most likely going to come back asking for an increase in fees.
And if I might point out, if we're not collecting fees that pay the cost of regulation, the taxpayers of Davidson County are making up the difference.
Any further discussion? I know I see a lot of hands. This is not a public hearing. This is for the commission to debate. The public hearing was at the beginning.
I am curious just relative to fee increases for taxis. I mean, I'm empathetic to fuel costs going up and vehicle service costs going up. And my recollection is that the charges for pickup and by the mile are regulated. What is the process if they wanted to increase, for example, by a half a cent or a quarter cent per mile, or the pickup fee? How does that occur?
I believe the commission, I'll let legal can tell me if I'm wrong, and they usually do if I am. I believe the commission has the capability of setting the fees and the rates for taxi cabs and what they charge.
When might they last have been adjusted?
Oh, wow. TD, do you happen to have any history information about when they were adjusted?
So it says...
according to the companies, 1/1/2022.
September 23rd, 2021.
Okay. So that's been quite a while.
So close to
3 years.
September 2020.
So
no, it's not an agenda item, but it's mundane. If we heard during the public hearing that the fee structure is a burden to the operators and their ability to stay in business, and thinking about just the economy in general, global economy, right? We've probably seen 20% inflation in the last 3 years.
If I may, Mr. Chair, if the commission would like, we could certainly do some benchmarking and reach out to other cities that are of our demographic and size and take a look and come back with y'all with some of what they're charging and what that looks like. And perhaps that can be kind of like a guiding point for a decision, and bring back to y'all at the next commission meeting a recommendation, or perhaps just an overall conversation of what rates are for other cities as well in this industry.
And I guess in communities that have similar gas prices as we
Yes,
do,
sir.
because I know Seattle was over $5 a gallon, Nashville's $3.30, give or take a little bit. So, yeah, okay.
Yes, sir. We would definitely use that as part of the evaluation and benchmarking.
I agree with Commissioner Hayes. I would move to deferring this decision until we have more information from NDOT.
We have a motion
We have a motion.
to, we have Commissioner Rogers' motion on the table right now.
Forgot about that.
That was second, so.
That was a while ago.
Well, I'm like Commissioner Claver. I think that Hayes, that is a very, I'd like to see that information, because I think it's a fair point that inflation has happened. While it may feel like an increase, that it's not actually an increase because going back to the prior amount, which with inflation is less money for the city to recover as everything else has gone up in the meantime. But I'm sympathetic to the fact that their fares are set and that, that it may be time for an adjustment there. So, I know that's not what's on our agenda for today. So,
Can you said next month, can you have that information available by then?
Yes, sir. I believe we can pull together a benchmarking for y'all to take into consideration at August's meeting. And that would be taken into for the rates of the meters within the taxi.
I'd be curious as well what the application fees look like in the same cities if we can pull that data.
We will be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, sir.
Both, yeah.
Ms. Scheffler, you look like you have something burning on your tongue.
Yes, sir, Chair. Staff has brought up a valid point. Beginning August 1st, we're going to be renewing taxi cab permits, so we do need to know what we're going to be charging them August 1st.
Did that change?
So we got to make a decision
That
today.
change can only be made in August, so it's set in August and it'll be set until August next year.
It's an annual.
It's just that they'll be coming into the office throughout the month of August into September to renew these 550.
Can the maker of the motion speak?
I'm sorry, what did you say, Commissioner Rogers?
I still think my motion is appropriate. I mean, again, we're not increasing the fee. This is the fee that was in effect before the pandemic. So it's not really an increase. We decided to give them a decrease, temporary decrease, through the pandemic, and we did that. And again, it's simply reverting back to what it was prior to that. And it should be, the question should be independent of economic circumstances. I mean, it's not up to us that Uber and Lyft are competitive. I mean, the market decides, we don't. So we're just reverting back to where we were a couple of years ago. That would be my argument in favor. And again, if it's not paying the cost of regulation, the rest of us are paying for it. So I move my motion again, I guess.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we have a comment on the rates, not on the fee question.
All right, let's stay on the fee, on Mr. Commissioner Rogers' motion. And I think I even heard someone say, call for the question. So.
I'm calling for the question.
All right. All those in favor of Commissioner Rogers' motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. And I guess we will have on the next agenda a look at the rates that the taxi cab companies are allowed to charge, both the flat rates and the meter rates, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We'll do that benchmarking.
And I would encourage the companies to talk to NDOT and other folks to have your input.
On the rate question, we
Yes.
would like to weigh in. Section 672.250 of the Metro Code kind of addresses the ability of this commission to set that rate by rule. So that should be set for public hearing when you do it next month. But there's also a provision in our rules that Ms. Haber found that suggests that the request for the increased rate should actually come from the industry. Do you have that language?
Yes, it's section 203. Before any taxi cab company may change its fares within the minimum and maximum rates prescribed in the taxi cab ordinance, a letter setting out the proposed...
It's within.
What?
It's within the range.
Okay.
I don't think that applies.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but basically, you all do have the authority to set the maximum and minimum rates, authorized flat fares, and minimum meter actuation rates.
Ms. Costonis, are you saying it also has to be a public hearing?
I do think it should be a public hearing because it refers to it as a real change.
Okay.
You want to have the ability to vote on it and adopt a higher rate.
If I may, Mr. Chair, can I ask a question? Would it be okay, Teresa, if we brought the information forward for commission to to discuss and debate on, and then perhaps in September we can bring back the rate change and a public hearing. But this way we would be able to provide all information. They can have that conversation and then follow up. If y'all want to have a rate change, we bring that back for a public hearing the following month. I just want to I want to make sure that might be an option for the commission to consider.
Absolutely, that would be fine. Just that the one at which you vote is the one where the public hearing
is announced. Okay, thank you very much.
And I think that's a good suggestion, because from what I gathered was most folks were inquiring about it to see if it was in the interest of the taxi cab company, and maybe even also in the interest of the public. So, yeah, let's have an informational hearing first in August, and then we can decide whether to put it on the agenda for a public hearing in September. Okay. All right. Mr. Rooker, take the stage on an update on ongoing taxi cab enforcement. And I know several council people were speaking specifically about the illegal taxis. I didn't know we had them in town now.
Yes, sir. We do have illegal taxis in town, and it is a significant problem on Broadway.
What did they call that? Wildcat taxis or something? When we had that problem, gypsy taxis. Yeah.
Ghost cat is what we were calling them.
I'll show my age. I think we called them gypsy taxis. Yeah. Okay.
We had all the players at the time. We had a meeting last Friday. The police, the mayor's office of nightlife, NDOT, and our enforcement staff. We met with the cab companies to discuss not only their concerns with this problem, but our concerns with the way some of the complaints that we're getting on those companies. And I just wanted to update you real quickly. I know we're running short on time. Our enforcement staff right now is at 14. We have 2 people that are out injured. We had just hired 9, so we should be up to full staff if everyone after everyone gets trained and everything happens. Our enforcement staff is focusing on downtown core right now. So we are actually going up and down Broad, going up and down 3rd, 4th, all these avenues to try to regulate these companies. The problem we have is when we pull it behind them and we're going to write them a citation, they drive away. So then once they do that, there's really nothing we can do but run them off. So we're partnering with Metro Police, there's steps we can do. We can take down their license and run a check on their license plate and mail them a citation, but then they have to sign for it and all this stuff. And we're going to do that. I mean, we're going to do everything we can to have these served. But we partnered with Metro Police. They've been great to help us with that. Metro Police can pull them over if they're operating without a certificate of necessity. And so they're partnering with us to do that. So we are really in the core, and we're trying to desperately weed this problem out as best we can. But on the other side of that, some of our cab companies, and they're here, and they're willing to work with us, and they have worked with us, and they're doing a good job in communicating with their drivers. Cab in Nashville has to run on meter. There are several ways that they can run a flat fee, and I'm just going to go through those real quick for the public. Airport to downtown, downtown to Opryland, Opryland to the airport to West End, West End to Opryland. Those are the only times that you can, and TD's got it up on the screen right now. Those are the only times that they can charge a flat fee. So if you're downtown and you're on Broadway and you want to go home and you get in a cab, they have to run their meter. Make sure, just for a public statement kind of, make sure that they're running their meter. Unless you're going on one of these 5 different journeys, then the cab meter should be running. Right now, we're having trouble with them charging a flat fee for people going downtown. And so we've met with the companies on this, and they're willing to work with us, and we're gonna all get together and solve this problem. With our enforcement staff, at full staff right now, not running down, but they will be. This is going to make a great stride in curing this problem. Also, too, the public needs to understand, Uber and Lyft cannot solicit rides. So if you are on Broadway and there's a car on the side of the road and it's got a sign that says Uber and he's got his door open for you to get in, that's not an Uber. It could be an Uber driver working on the side, but that is not legal. I mean, they are not supposed to be doing that. So Uber and Lyft are prearranged rides that people call into the company sends a car to you, they send you a picture of the person that's picking you up, a picture of the vehicle, and that's the vehicle that's supposed to come get you. And if you get into another one, that may not be the vehicle they sent. So we're having very much issues with people going down there. I saw one the other day. Somebody sent me, I think it was one of the companies, sent me a picture. It's a van, and it just says taxi on the back, painted on the back of it. It says taxi, or stuck on there or something like that. So, I mean, the public needs to be aware. We've also started a campaign with the police department to educate our tourists and to educate our folks that live in town. And TD's got it up on the thing now. Are you in a licensed taxi cab?
Where is that? Where is that located for the public to see or for tourists to see?
It is on our website, for NDOT's website, and I believe Metro PD is going to put it up on their and social media pages.
And if I could also add to this, we are partnering with the CVC as well as the Hospitality Association. And next Thursday, we will be passing this out at the merchants meeting. We attend the merchants meeting, monthly meeting. So to ask them if they would consider putting it inside the bathroom doors and stuff like that. So this is brand new, but we're going to work really hard to get this pushed out so that people are more aware that this is happening, and please be aware and just don't jump in a car. So this is, I just want to add that because that was a conversation I had late yesterday, Ricky, and I didn't get a chance to talk with you because you and I have been tied up all morning, but we are partnering with those other industries to help us get this messaging out.
Is it possible to put these in the cabs themselves that are licensed, so I know that when I'm getting in a cab, it's licensed?
Well, that's what this explains to you on the screen. It's kind of hard to see.
But even having this on, within there, so if I know that if I'm...
That would be probably something that we could work with the cab companies.
Because we know who the licensed cab companies are,
yes,
right?
We do.
So if you see this, you know you're in a good one. And if you don't see this,
it'd be pretty
get
easy
out
for somebody to print it out off the internet, though. And
there's ways to get around that with,
right now,
we can do fancy little, how they do the ticket stuff where we can have it be.
Right now, they have to see their rate card. They have to see the passenger bill of rights. They have to see the driver's permit, and all this has to be on the dash.
They have to see the meter.
They have to see the meter, but now the meter's key. And the light on top. Problem with the light on top is people are buying lights on top and putting them on fake cabs. So that's another issue. So that's why we've listed all of these different things to make sure that people understand. You need to be getting in a real cab.
Agree. And I love this. And I think this is great. And the more places we can put it, the better. Just from a very logical perspective, the best place to have this would be in the cab itself.
Sure. Well, we will definitely have those conversations with the companies and see if that's something that they'd be willing to do. We're also going to be doing some advertising at the airport, inside of the airport, to allow people getting off planes. When you walk out there, unless you have prearranged an Uber ride, you need to get in a cab.
We're also going to be working with the airport on putting the rates up because a lot of times this rate is a lot cheaper than an Uber Lyft. So we really want to kind of help out with some of the playing field. So this is actually, we're working with the airport right now on that marketing campaign of what we would do and how it would look so that when you're getting off and you're right there, you are going to come to a sign that says, hey, you can take a taxi downtown for $30. And versus, that. So we are working through that right now and what that would look and feel like.
I would love to see that down to baggage claim area.
Yes, I agree.
And to the point on, someone printing this out in their fake cab, you're just outing yourself. Here's a list of things I don't have because I'm illegal. So I doubt that would be something they'd be motivated to do.
It's a great point, but I mean, and the industry probably can help me speak to this too. This generally happens most between 12 and 3 o'clock in the morning. So that all might explain some of that. They're ready to go home. So they jump out and jump in the first car that they see. So the rate too, as the director just said, I don't know what Uber Lyft drives, but this will help the cab companies also. And that you can go downtown for $30. You can go to West End for $30. And you can.
When you say West End, what part of what? The whole West End?
It's not defined.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
am I going to
defined.
Vanderbilt?
It just says airport to West End, West End to Opryland. So I guess West End is.
West End is to 31st.
To 31st. There we go. Director would know. I knew she would know that. So what?
I'm sorry.
There you go. Okay, so that in 31st. Okay.
I'm a little fired up on this one. I apologize, but another suggestion would be to distribute this to like sexual assault center, some places where that. Local fraternities, local sororities, so that the people who are at the most risk for these things happening are also in possession of this, see something, say something. They won't know until they see what they're supposed to know.
Now that flat rate too also includes $2 per extra rider. That's cheap. I mean, if you come to Nashville with your wife and you want to go downtown, you can get in a cab for $32. Go to West End for $32. Go to Opryland for $32. That's a pretty cheap rate. So that's basically what we wanted to go over and just keep you aware and keep you informed and let you know what we're doing to try to curb this problem and to. The real way to curb the problem, in my opinion, is to take their customers away from them. So if we can educate people to know they're getting in a real cab, and those people they're not getting in those cabs, they'll eventually go away. So education, enforcement, that's where we're headed with this. So just wanted to give you a quick update. Sure.
What do you think the market is for these gypsy cabs? I mean, why not just be an Uber driver? Yeah.
I'll let the director's more versed in that than I am.
Because they don't
have to be prearranged.
Correct.
Yeah.
We want it prearranged. We want people to know who they're riding with, where they're going, and all that. But the requirements that Uber and Lyft have to meet, it actually is part of it. So the Uber and Lyft drivers actually do not receive as much money as people think they do. The only time they make where they might make something that's significantly more than their standard ride pay would actually be when there's an upcharge. So that demand pricing again. So when there's a demand for more Ubers and Lyft and they add on that surcharge amount, that upcharge, that's when they will make a little bit more money. Or if there is a time that Uber and Lyft do not feel they have enough drivers out there to support the demand, they may offer them like $10 extra per ride or $5 per extra per ride. That's typically how they actually operate. But the actual cost that they receive is relatively less than 40% of what your total ride is. So the rest is actually going to operations, T&C, all of that kind of stuff. So there's a benefit for them to say, okay, I've done this ride before in the past, and this is how much it costs with Uber. So you get in my car, I'm going to charge you $27. That's your charge. And they're carrying around their little squares, and you're paying them, and it's not prearranged, which is what is required, and it's just really not safe because you're getting in a car and you don't know anything about that driver.
And let me clarify.
And nor does anyone else ever vet it, because Uber and Lyft vet their drivers as well.
I want to clarify because I gave you some bad information, so I want to make it right. Airport to West End, $35. West End to Opryland, $35. Okay. All the other ones are $30. Okay.
Do we have an idea how many illegal taxis are out there? I'm looking at 12 right here on these pictures that Mr. Rowland gave us.
Not at this time, but we are working on collecting that data. Yes. But I do not have that number available to share today.
Ms. Trim, real quick, come up to the table and make it real quick, please. And I'm doing this because I've known you for many years. Yeah, go ahead.
I won't take but a second. Doug Trimble with Yellow Cab. This issue with illegal cabs. it's not a matter of if it's going to happen. It's when it's going to happen, and there's going to be a tragedy. We're all trying to prevent this. The steps that are being taken and the conversation that's going on right now is nowhere near, in my opinion, of how it needs to be addressed. In my opinion, and all my constituents'
what's the
opinion,
solution?
it's a matter of when before there's a tragedy, not if, it's when. A lot of these illegal taxis have been in the cab business. We've either cut ties with them for a reason, for being overly aggressive toward our tourists, etc. There's a lot more than meets the eye here. This needs to be addressed right now. The TLC has no sergeant of arms. Everything's discussed that has been discussed, and every rule change, there's nobody to enforce anything until we get some cab inspectors back and we're able to work with the Metropolitan Police Department, like Mr. Brooker said, to get these guys off the street, or tragedies coming down the road. And we're just all trying to prevent this, and it's not being taken seriously enough, in my opinion. I'm letting y'all know that some of these drivers are very combative. They're aggressive. They've been run out of the business. Some of them's never been in the business. This really needs to be thought out and addressed in a more serious manner. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Trimble. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I had a question
Ms.
for you.
Trimble. Ms. Trimble, hold on.
Do you have specific ideas for solutions from the industry?
Yes, absolutely.
Could you give us one or two of those?
We need our cab inspectors back. We used to have cab inspectors that worked for Billy Fields' office. Now it's Mr. Rooker's office. Worked for the TLC. They worked all over the county, not just on Broadway. Pertaining to them being able to pull a unmarked vehicle over, like he said, we need Metro officers assigned with 2 cab inspectors that are able to pull these guys over at 24 and Harding, not just on Broadway and 5th, anywhere, and get these guys off the street.
So enforcement,
they bring a black eye to our city, and tragedy happens.
So enforcement is your
main concern.
Main concern. Do you have any other concerns besides enforcement that the TLC could help you with?
That's it, basically.
Thank you.
All right.
And to add, if we do get to write them a citation, we're writing them an environmental court citation. We're not writing them a parking ticket. So we're giving them a citation that is, I'll let legal follow up. That
And they have to show up in court.
Yes, sir, if we can serve them, and then we're working on solutions.
So since service has been kind of the problem there, because citations can be served by certified mail, if they're not signing for that certified mail, then it's kind of hard to prove. And so and legal can also do, in addition to citation forms, we can do full warrants, and we can have them served by a private process server. So, if we can track up a couple people that we have a number of citations on, that like real bad actors, that we can prove they're real bad actors, we can take them to environmental court and seek injunctive relief there, so that basically the court would order them to stop operating illegally, and then if they did it again, we could take them back with a petition for contempt.
So to Director Rooker's point, which I think was a good one, there are only so many enforcement agents, but there are tons of people taking cabs. And so we need help from the public. And I know this is the most popular YouTube channel on the internet. So
dozens.
Is it?
It's more popular than you believe.
Dozens and dozens of viewers, yes. So that's what we used to say about my company. First year, we made dozens and dozens of dollars. But so just to be clear, if someone is, what can the average citizen do? Like, what if someone is like, oh, I think this is an illegal cab? One, I think there should be, some signage inside the legal ones. And it sounds like they would be willing to work with NDOT to make sure that there is some visible signage inside when they know that it's a permitted cab. But like, what should someone do if they're like, this looks like a sketchy cab. I don't think it should be operating.
They can report it to us, to the TLC, to the hub.
Hub
through
Nashville?
Hub Nashville.
Okay.
Hub Nashville is absolute, and we're getting to that.
Yeah,
Hub
which
Nashville
is going to
that-
segue us into the next agenda item.
Hub Nashville is the absolute best way to get us information, simply because it's easy to track, it's easy for us to keep up with, and it's electronic. It's an electronic form of communication.
So, for all of the taxi cab companies that are here, I hear y'all, and I don't want this happening in your industry either. I have illegal boats operating out on the river all the time that I have to call the Coast Guard on. So I would encourage all of you to make Hub Nashville complaints, because that's how we can then enforce these things. So please put signage up in your work with NDOT and make these complaints so that we can have the data and the information to make decisions. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Rooker, let's go on to the public hearing regarding the TLC Rule and Procedure Section 103 amendment.
Yes, sir. This amendment is, we have to have a public hearing on it because it is a rule change. It basically is just allowing, the commission's giving us permission to accept a Hub Nashville complaint as a form of communication and a way the public can transfer a complaint to us. Right now, they can fax it to us. They can send us a letter. They can send it by, smoke signals. They can do all of that stuff, but they can't do it through the Hub. Yeah, I'm kidding about that. I'm kidding about that. They can do it by mail, but they can't. Yeah, exactly. But your rule doesn't state that they can do it through the Hub. That's all we're asking for, is so we can tell the public, hey, how do I complain about this? Go to the Hub, put it in the Hub, and then it will come directly to me through Hub Nashville. That's the only rule change we're asking, that to be another form of communication.
Right now, it's letter, fax, or email, and the proposal is to add Hub Nashville. That's capital H-U-B, and then Nashville.
Yes, sir. Hub Nashville complaint form.
I make a wholehearted motion for that to happen.
Oh, we got to have a public hearing first.
Public hearing?
Yes.
Is there anyone who wants to speak to the amendment to TLC Rule 103?
I believe we have Councilman Coopin who would like to speak to this.
I'll do it in less than 30 seconds because I'm getting a look from Ricky. Director Rooker. I just wanted to very, very quickly, obviously supportive of this rule change, but want to continue to encourage the review of these Hub complaints, especially through the commission. I do get the feedback from folks that they say, I put it in Hub and it goes somewhere, but I don't know where it goes, and we hear that across the board. But if we're going to be encouraging folks to report these taxis or illegal operators, I want to make sure the public also understands where those requests go, what the response is to them, and then how that comes back to the commission for review and enforcement. So, but supportive of the rule change.
And from this point forward, any hub complaint we get will be in your packet, whether it's a cab, whether it's a ETV, it doesn't matter. Whatever Hub Nashville complaint we get, we're going to make it a part of your packet.
I think we got it in an Excel spreadsheet this time in our packet. I had to contact Mr. Scheffler and find out what was this, why this was part of my agenda. So, all right. That does not mean that the commission will be acting on those complaints that are in there. It's
No,
just
sir.
that we're being advised of them.
It's informational only at this point. So
And I take it that your office will be screening them and deciding which ones need to come before us. And then, of course, there's the 3 strikes you're out rule, too.
Yes, sir. Well, 3 strikes come before the commission.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
But if something very significant, like an assault in an illegal taxi cab were to occur, that would get before this commission.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. It would.
All right. Okay. Mr. Hassan, you've been waving your hand. I really need to tell you. It's a public hearing now. If you're going to speak to this particular agenda item, I'm going to let you speak.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for this opportunity. Here is what we have problem. The problem is, like we was talking about the fees. We have 520 number of permit. Every cab company has got a 40 or 30, empty, which is we don't fill up yet. We're hoping we're going to fill up one day. We're not able to even get close to it. The problem is our drivers, every one of them, if we fire our drivers, if we suspend our drivers, they quit, we remove the equipment out of car and decals. What they do, they turn around and go back to downtown with not legal cab, it's our collar on it. They're picking up people left and right and overcharge. Here's the problem. I'm going to suspend my driver when I catch him is overcharging. I'm going to suspend him. He's going to quit. He said, I cannot force it to be suspended and paying company's fee. What I have to do, I have to remove all equipment, and he spent the money on that stuff, and I did spend money. And he turned around, go back to another company, because every company has got an empty permit. They're hoping to get the drivers, okay? For example, I have my drivers, and Ricky sent me the complaint, and he's overcharged. He did overcharge. He tried to overcharge. And I suspend him, and he quit, and in a couple of days, I see he's in a different company. He's going back to the TLC and pay $20 and change his permit. We have to have some kind of policy for this. He's going to go pay $20 and change his permit and go turn around another company. We're not able to control this unless you guys make a decision on it. Thank you.
Thank you for that was enlightening. I thank you, Mr. Hassan. All right. Is anybody else want to speak to the proposed change in Section 103 to add another access for the public to make complaints through Hub Nashville? All right. Is there a motion? Oh, there was a motion.
Now can I?
Yes.
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. We are now down to other business, and on that, under other business is an ethics refresher by Metro Legal. We are at 4 o'clock, and we still have a lot of application reviews to get to.
We can do that anytime. We're happy to defer it if that would be your preference. We defer to you all.
I think, well, go ahead.
Move to defer the ethics refresher, and I promise I'll read it, which I have read it a few times. I hope everybody else will too.
With Metro Legal's permission, I think that's a good idea about moving it to the August meeting.
Was a motion made by Commissioner Hayes? Second.
All those in favor of moving the ethics refresher course by Metro Legal to the August meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion carries. Now, as I understand, we're down to the application reviews, and at this point, I am to notify everybody that the broadcast section of this meeting has concluded. The remaining portion of the meeting will not be broadcast because the Commission will be considering confidential and protected criminal history background information of driver applicants. Questions should be directed to the Transportation Licensing Commission's office at 615-862-6777.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.